I can't believe it's been over a decade, but back in 2007, Nike flew me out to Los Angeles to work the first ever Kobe Bryant Skills Academy. Nike brought in the top high school and college players from around the country for an intense 3-day mini camp with the best player in the world. And I know some of you follow hoops, but I don't know if everyone does. So let me paint the picture. In 2007, Kobe was the best player in the game. Michael Jordan, who everybody's heard of, had already retired, in fact, twice at that point. And LeBron James, as great as he was still climbing that mountain. In 2007, Kobe was that dude. Well, an important fact about me, I've spent my entire life in a basketball bubble. Basketball was my first identifiable passion, and I fell in love with the game at 5 or 6 years old. So I had always heard the urban legend of how insanely intense Kobe's individual workouts were. Well, now that I was on his camp staff, I figured this was my chance, and this was my shot. So at my earliest opportunity, I walked up to him and asked if I could watch one of his private workouts. He was incredibly gracious and flashed a smile and said, "Sure, man, no problem. I'm going tomorrow at 4." And I got a little bit confused because I had just got done looking through the camp schedule, and the camp schedule said the first workout with the kids was the following day at 3:30. And Kobe recognized the confused look on my face, and he quickly clarified that with a wink and said, "Yeah, that's 4 a.m. Well, as a room of high performers and high achievers, you guys realize there's not really a legitimate excuse in the world on why you can't be somewhere at 4 in the morning. At least not one that a guy like Kobe's going to accept. So I'd basically committed myself to being there. And I figured if I was going to be there anyway, I may as well try and leave my mark. I may as well try and impress Kobe and show him how serious of a trainer I was. So I came up with a plan to beat him to the gym. So I set my alarm for 3 a.m. And the alarm goes off and I jump up and I quickly get myself together and I hop in a cab and I get to the gym. Now, when I step out of the cab, it's 3:30 in the morning. It's black outside. And yet from the parking lot, I can see that the gym light is already on. From the parking lot, I can even faintly hear a ball bouncing and sneakers squeaking. I walk in the side door, Kobe's already in a full sweat. He was going through an intense warm-up before his scheduled workout with his trainer started at 4. Now, out of professional courtesy, I didn't say anything to him and I didn't say anything to his trainer. I just sat down to watch. And for the first 45 minutes, I was actually shocked. For the first 45 minutes, I watched the best player on the planet do the most basic footwork and offensive moves. Kobe was doing stuff I had routinely taught to middle school age players. Now, don't get it twisted, this is Kobe Bryant. So everything he was doing was at an unparalleled level of intensity. And everything he was doing was with surgical precision. But the actual stuff he was doing was incredibly basic. Now, the whole workout lasted a couple hours, and when it was over, again, I didn't say anything to him, didn't say anything to his trainer, I just quietly left. But my curiosity got the best of me. I had to know. So later that day at camp, I went up to him and said, "Kobe, I don't get it. You're the best player in the world. Why are you doing such basic drills?" And again, he was very gracious and smiled. But he said with all seriousness, "Why do you think I'm the best player in the world? Because I never get bored with the basics. I never get bored with the basics." Kobe Bryant, the best player in the game of basketball, said, "I never get bored with the basics." And as a young coach, for me, that was a life-changing lesson. And that's just because something is basic, that doesn't mean that it's easy. If it was easy, everyone else would be doing it. But as you all know, we live in a world that tells us it's okay to skip steps, that tells us it's okay to circumvent the process, that all but pushes us to chase what's hot and what's flashy and what's sexy, and just ignore what's basic. But as you all know, the basics work. They always have and they always will. The very first step to improving your performance in any area of your life, personally or professionally, individually or organizationally, is admitting that the basics work. But it's also having the humility to acknowledge that implementing them with consistency is never easy.
All right, welcome in part 5, 3 levels. Glad everyone's on. Thank you for joining us today. Um, we got three really good coaches today. First up, we've got a guy I've been fortunate to know for several years from the University of Houston, Quannas White. Excited for Q to get on and share, and Q will share. And then obviously, if you have any questions, um, introduce yourself, name, where you're from, and then obviously you can ask some questions. So we'll let Q share a little bit about his journey, and then share some things that he's learned along the way, and then we'll get to questions. So go ahead, Q.
All right. Good morning to everyone. Appreciate you guys taking the time out to listen to me this morning. I first want to thank Coach David Bentley for having me and Rising Coaches. The thing you guys are doing right now to help us develop and all this, it's been absolutely great. Really appreciate you having me on. So I'm originally from New Orleans. Went to high school at St. Aug High School in New Orleans. Then from there, went to Midland Junior College, where I spent 2 years under Coach Jency Cotton and Scott Raines, guys who played a great part in my development as a player and as a coach. Absolutely love those guys. Those guys are two of the guys that I talk to at least a couple of times a week. And they just been a part of my life the whole time. Got a great appreciation for them. Without those guys, I wouldn't have been able to one, develop as a player and have opportunities after junior college, and then also I wouldn't be in a position where that I am today. And so very appreciative of Coach Jency Cotton and Scott Raines. I learned a great deal from them as a player, and continuing to learn from those guys as a coach. And so from Midland, I then went on to Oklahoma University, where I spent 2 of the best years of my life. First year getting there, playing under Coach Sampson and his staff was amazing. We got an opportunity to go to the Final Four, playing the Final Four, and experience that was absolutely phenomenal. Thought we had an opportunity to win it all, though we had really good pieces in place, but we ended up coming up short. And then after that, my senior year, same thing with the Final Four being in New Orleans, would have been special to our entire team, but especially for me and Hollis, because we from there. But again, got to the Elite Eight, came up short, and the rest was kind of history. It's been 2 great years though at Oklahoma. Absolutely loved the university. Had a great time learning from Coach Sampson and the staff. Learned a whole lot. So from there, went on to play overseas in France and in Germany. Then I came back to Oklahoma. Coach Sampson put me on staff as a grad assistant, earned my degree. But as a player, and you coming up as a player, and you got dreams and aspirations of trying to get to the NBA, I still wanted to play. I didn't want to be a coach at the time, although I'm greatly appreciative of what Coach Sampson did for me. So I went on to play, had several other opportunities to play overseas, but I turned them down because I had my oldest daughter, Jordan, who was here in the States. And so I played in every minor league you could think of in the States with hopes of trying to play in the NBA one day. And so after my playing career was over, like many of us, we want to stay around basketball. And, okay, so what's next? And so my younger brother, Josh White, who's player development at Texas Southern, and who played at North Texas for the coach that he's working for now, Johnny Jones. He was the head coach at North Texas. And so Josh played with him, and Josh is in the Hall of Fame and all that good stuff. But after I got done, Josh was in high school. And so I began working with Josh, working him out 2 or 3 times a day, working really hard in hopes of him earning a college scholarship. And so from there, from working Josh out, you know, I would have parents around the school out in Baton Rouge at Christian Life High School. And so had one parent in particular, Dr. Mays, who's a great friend of mine. He took a liking to what I was doing with Josh. And he saw how hard we would be working and how Josh was developing. And so through that, he said, hey, Quannas, why don't you train 3 of my kids. And so I began training, personal basketball training at that point, and that's how I started generating income. And so started out as a private trainer with 3 kids, doing the best job that I possibly could do in developing all 3 of those guys. I put my all into it. I was only making like $1,000 a month, which is little to no money. Like most guys that get on here, we all are appreciative of our wives, and I have a great one. She's always been a hard worker, and she kind of carried the load back then when I was trying to pursue my career in basketball. And so again, started out with 3 kids, and big faith believer in God. And so I feel like if you put in 50% and you do your part, then God will meet you the other half, right? So 3 kids and my younger brother being 4, that turned into 8. 8 turned into 12. 12 turned into 15. And before you know it, I was training over 50 kids in Louisiana, being in Baton Rouge and in New Orleans. And so I would do that. I would do all my training on the weekend. And so Saturdays and Sundays would be my heavy days. And so I was in the gym from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I absolutely love developing guys and training. And I thought that would be what I would do the rest of my life, because I had a passion for it. I love watching guys get better, and I just love being in the gym. And so Saturdays and Sundays were my big days. And so Monday through Friday was kind of when the real work got done. And so on Mondays through Fridays, I would play my PlayStation. And so nah, just joking, man, just joking. But so through my training, like I said, Dr. Mays, really great friend of mine, he asked me, he said, Quannas, why don't you coach AU? Why don't you get with my 3 boys and coach them in the summer? And so I thought about it, talked it over with my wife, and I said, hey, let me give it a try. And so I called up 2 of my buddies from Louisiana, Kendall and Kermit Smith, my older brother who's a firefighter in New Orleans, and also Kyle Carrigy, who's a great friend of mine. And we put our heads together and we came up with the organization Louisiana Dynasty. And so I did AAU for 9 years, helped run Louisiana Dynasty. Absolutely loved every bit of it. We developed and worked with several kids. The number one priority for us, just like it is for any AAU team, was to help every guy that came through the program earn a scholarship. That was our number one priority. And so we had really good parents. It was a mom and pop AAU organization. And so I owe a great deal of thanks and appreciative of every parent that put in their hard time and effort, as well as the coaches, because we didn't get paid, anything like that. We just put in our time, just like any AAU coaches are doing right now and before us. So, but our priority was to get those guys scholarship. And we racked our brains, used our connections, and just try to help the kids. That's what we were about. I didn't think about coaching college basketball, anything like that. My focus was on my private basketball training and then helping run my organization. And so then the next priority for us was, when you're playing, when you're a player, you don't really think about 5 and 10, 15 years down the road about what you're going to do, what you're going to be doing then. You're thinking about, okay, I want to play ball in high school. I want to then go to college, and then I want to play in the NBA. So our staff with the AAU program, we kept trying to rack our brains and say, man, okay, we want this organization around for as long as it possibly can. And so the priority was to help guys after they're done playing professionally, or if they didn't get the opportunity to play after college, to then come back to the program and use it kind of as a tool or avenue to create opportunities for those guys in college or wherever. Or, come back, learn how to develop. If you want to be around basketball, come back, learn from the coaches, myself and the rest of the staff. And we just was trying to create options for these guys through basketball. And so that was kind of our goals. And like I said, man, I'm a big faith guy, believe in God like no other. And, God works in mysterious ways. I didn't know that he was preparing me to a certain degree for what I'm doing right now. So, so through my training and then the AAU program, what it also allowed us to do is build connections and build relationships. And so the other thing we try to do is, like I said, it was a mom and pop organization. So we racked our brains and said, how can we generate income besides using our personal income and the parents as well? Because we traveled just like a Nike Adidas sponsor team, but we wasn't sponsored. And so we came up with a tournament called the Southern Slam. And so the Southern Slam was primarily formed for trying to generate more income so we can have these guys travel just like and just create more opportunities for them, right? And so we did that. And then the other thing was we thought about Louisiana kids and where we were from and how a lot of guys down there get overlooked and don't have some of the same opportunities that the other kids may have that are playing on a sponsored team with a shoe company, and they have most of the resources and all that good stuff. And so we wanted to create opportunities for not only guys in Louisiana, not only teams like my team, but other teams that will come down from Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, and we just wanted to create opportunities for those guys as well, and we were really successful in doing so. And so through AAU, and this is kind of my story, the other thing I was able to do is connect with college coaches. And so the one guy, whether it be head coaches or assistant coach, but the one guy I connected with was Coach Conroy at Tulane University. And so Coach Conroy, who I'm very, very appreciative of, when you think about it, I'm an AAU coach, nothing against it. I love AAU, but he took a guy that had no experience and gave him an assistant position. And that just means the world to me. It means the world. And what I've learned from Coach Conroy in the 2 years that I spent with him is how hard you have to work. He has great work ethic, very organized, detail-oriented, and just an all-around good guy. And another thing about it is, it was my first job. So never coached college ball. Coaching in the American Conference was huge. But also, he gave a guy by the name of Anthony Wilkins his first opportunity as assistant coach. So, and then one of my best friends, Shaman Williams. I think Shaman had been in college for about 4 or 5 years, but it was a young staff. And so to have trust and faith, in us to be able to get a job done just speaks volumes about the type of person Coach Conroy was. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that he's given me. In my young career, because I only been doing this 7 years, the advice that I would give you guys, the guys that's looking to get into college coaching and all that good stuff is one of the reasons why Coach Conroy hired me. He had a position open 2 years before I got on. And so I tried to get that position 2 years in a row, and he went with someone else, right? And so the third time around, it came open. I tried and did everything I possibly could do to get the position, right? I'm from New Orleans. It meant the world to me to coach in New Orleans, in my hometown. I was very excited about that. But the reason why he said he hired me was because the 2 times when he didn't hire me, he said, "Quannas, your attitude never changed." He said, "When I would call you and inquire about any one of your kids, just talk to you about life in general, or, just pick your brain, you would answer the phone. You showed no bad attitude. You wasn't mad. And so what that made me think is, it happens sometimes, but, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to be myself, continue to work and grind and, just keep a great attitude. I have a great understanding for, these head coaches, man, and the responsibility that goes along with that. And they're going to do what's best for them. Right. And they should. And so how can I be mad at that if a guy turns me down? So I just kept doing what I love doing, kept developing guys, kept working with my program. And then, the third time around, that door opened. And it was because of my attitude, partially. Right. So Shaman, being on the staff with him, and like I said, he's a best friend of mine, man. Think the world of him. He did a really cool thing, man. Really good thing. He was awarded a raise after his 2 years there when I was coming in, and he actually gave the raise back and asked Coach Conroy to give half of it to me to get me on board, and then the other half to a guy that wasn't making little to nothing. And I think Shaman is the ultimate teammate. I think that is rare. That's just something that just doesn't happen. And so with that being said, along with myself, him, Coach Anthony Wilkins, who I think does a great job, and Donald Reyes and Andy Fox, I thought we were on the cusp of doing something really special at Tulane because of the staff that was in place. But unfortunately, we didn't have enough time. We ended up getting fired. And so from that, now I'm out of a job. Looking, searching, like, we all do when we're not employed. And I had known a guy named Stansberry, Coach Stansberry, who was at the time at Texas A&M, and they had a great run. He was up for the Western Kentucky job. And so Coach Stansberry offered me the job at Western Kentucky. But before that, I had knew Coach Stansberry from recruiting me at Mississippi State. And so out of Midland Junior College, I was my second year of being there. I was heavily recruited by several schools. And Coach Stansberry, it came down to Mississippi State and Oklahoma. And both schools did an outstanding job of recruiting me. And the way I look at this is, I could have, humbly speaking, I could have helped Mississippi State as a player, right? And so I turned him down. And now here I am out of a job, looking and searching, and he opened up a door for me. Didn't hold that against me. And so, maybe other people don't look at it like that, but those things stick with me. And I think that just speaks volumes about his character, the type of person he is. The 1 year I was there, learned a great deal from him. Really high level recruiter, really good coach, easy to work for, and a great people's person. So the 1 year out there, I envisioned the program doing what it was going to be doing right now. And those guys are doing a great job over there. So from Western Kentucky, I got a call from my main man, who I absolutely love. Guy's like a second dad to me, Coach Sampson. And so when he called, it was hard for me to turn the job down. And so I've been over here going on 4 years. He does an absolute best job of building a program. He's the one guy that I know that has been to several programs and has won at every last one of them. And I think part to do with that is the type of kids that he recruit, what he stands for. He holds the guys accountable to the T. And that's just awesome. He's a Hall of Fame coach. And I just absolutely love being in the situation that I am. It's not a day that goes by that I don't go down the hall and go and pick his brain and continuously just try to learn. But the other great thing is we have a big time staff. Coach Sampson is where it starts, but also Coach Brooks, who's been a head coach at the University of Houston. I have the privilege and opportunity to learn from him. So he is a head coach. His title is assistant, but he's a head coach. And then also Kellen Sampson, who's our associate head coach. I get to lean on him because he's a head coach as well. So I'm in outstanding position, man. And I'm very appreciative to be over there at Houston and just learning from all those guys and our support staff with my backcourt mate Hollis Price, guys like Mikael McLean, KC Beard. All those guys are great basketball minds, and it's one of the reasons why we're so successful, because we got an outstanding staff. And so what I'll touch on a little bit, man, before I open it up for questions is the type of kids that we look to recruit are hard-nosed kids. Coach always talks about competing versus playing hard. And there is a difference, especially with him. And so, and one of the other things before I get to that, and I'll give you guys a good example of that, is Coach is fair. Why guys love playing and why we rarely have guys that want to leave and they enjoy their time at Houston is because of how honest Coach Sampson is, how hard he works, and how he believes in them, and he just gets them to run through a wall because of how fair he is. And so an example of how fair he is we had a kid named Corey Davis that we recruited out of San Jacinto JUCO. And so Corey came on. We had high expectations for Corey. We thought he would come in and make an immediate impact, and he did. But at first, you know, like most kids, they envision in their minds, you know, from coming from wherever they come from, they think they play hard. And so we had a kid named Wes Van Beck that was a walk-on for us. And just to tell you how fair Coach is, Wes understood after being in the program for several years and being through the wars and things like that, and he's naturally a hard worker, right? Wes actually started for us for 5 or 6 games till Corey kind of figured it out, and he learned the difference between working hard and competing. And so when you have a guy that's honest and fair like that and is going to do things the right way, doesn't care if you're a 1-star, a 2-star, none of that matters to him. And so I think guys have ultimate respect for that. And that's why they'll do anything possible to win and do anything for Coach. And so the example I was going to give you guys is, you know, what we look for and what Coach Sampson looks for is if the ball was shot and the ball comes off a missed shot and it's a loose ball and you got 2 guys running after the ball as hard as they can, but one guy gets to the ball and tries to bend over and pick the ball up. Well, the other guy's running just as hard, and he may be a step behind, but he dives on the floor for the ball and comes up with it. That's the difference between competing and hard to us. Coach wants guys to empty out their tank. Is one of the reasons why we are outstanding and #1 in the nation, I believe, in offensive rebounding. And that one of the reasons why we're really good defensively as well. He's going to get guys to empty their tanks. And so that's the difference. That's what we have got. That's the type of guys we have at Houston. That's why we've been so successful. And that's what makes Coach a really great coach, man. So I'll open it up for questions for you guys.
Anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Kareem Brown, Niagara County Community College. Coach, what things are you guys doing with your guys right now? Obviously, you can't get in the gym. Probably summer school, if any, is probably going to be late. What things are you guys doing with your guys?
Well, Coach had all the assistants and the support staff. We did try to find creative ways to get better, right? We're always trying to get better. So we all did a presentation that we had to do in front of the team of different areas where we can improve, our team in. And so, we talk to them once a week on a Zoom call, and we talk about academics first and foremost. And then, like I said, we did a presentation not too long ago about different areas where we can improve our team.
And how do you conduct that? Is that all as a staff talking to one coach, or is it one coach talking to each of their guys? And then how do you get them to do something at home right now? How are you implementing that?
Well, we send our video guy does a great job of chopping up film and And so for the new guys in some of our defensive schemes, we'll have them put film together and send it over to those guys. And then what I'll do, since Coach, how he breaks it up is I'm in charge of the guards. Coach Brooks is with the 5s and Coach Kellen is with the 4s. And so what I've done is I've got with the video guy, and he'll send them film. And then what I'll do is I'll call those guys the next day, and we'll kind of break it down, and they'll have to tell me everything that they've watched. And so what we try to do, and it's hard, we got to depend on them guys actually doing it. But what we try to do is simulate to the best we can those guys doing stuff at home in terms of how we guard ball screens and just getting them to rep, kind of, things that we do defensively. And so, but we watch a lot of film, and so we'll do it individually, like I just said, but also we'll get on calls as an entire staff, and then coach will talk to the guys about things that they need to work on. And like I said, different position coaches will give their own individual positions, and then we'll go from there.
Coach White, how you doing? Brandon Cosby down at Miami-Dade.
Good. How you doing, man? I'm
good, man. Hey, coming from the JUCO level, obviously I'm at the JUCO level. You played at the JUCO level. What is the biggest adjustment for guys going from that JUCO level to a university? Because it seems like, there is a transition period. And most times when coach come in and recruit a guy, they come in with the idea that this kid is going to step in and play, be a major contributor. And, it seems like there is some type of lag period most of the time between the transition. Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, man, I just think it's all about your work habit, man. When I was in JUCO and all I could do is speak on that. I think that's the best way I can answer your question is I didn't have, access to things that the Division I guys have. So I think it's an adjustment there. So as far as I didn't really lift weights in junior college. And so once I got to Oklahoma, it was different for me. That's not something we did at Midland. And so I think the speed of the play is different because it's a different level. You got guys that move quicker, they're faster, they're stronger. And so I think it's just something that, the more work you put in, the better you're going to be. Surely you haven't, like for me, I didn't lift weights and things like that. But I think the more time you can spend in the gym, doing the right things and repetition the right way is what I like to say. I think the better prepared you're going to be to go into any situation. And I think guys need to be realistic as well, because we have all these guys that transfer from school, whether it be them transferring from junior college to high school and then trying to leave, or Division I and transferring to another Division I. Man, I think it's important that you choose the right school for you, and the right level. I think that's extremely important. But I think, again, going back to the work, like I touched on earlier, and I can speak about this because I was with him every single day. The reason why my younger brother, Josh White, is in the Hall of Fame is because of the work that he put in at Christian Life. And so once he got to North Texas and got with Coach Johnny Jones, he was prepared. And so he was prepared because he was repetition the right way and being proactive and putting the work in. And so he didn't just go to school, take care of his books. He did that as well. But after school was out and then they had practice, he had a really tough, hard-nosed coach. Josh worked out after that. So I think nothing prepares you better than the work that you put in. And so that's why he was successful, and that's why the transition will be smoother. It's never going to be easy, but it'll be smooth if you put the work in.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Coach Alexander, Kentucky, Hoop Dreams AAU. Question I had coming from AAU, just as yourself, when your initial role, I know it's probably as being a recruiter, what were some steps that you did to expand your role with your other colleges and universities instead of being a recruiter, besides just picking the guys' brains? Where there were certain things that you did so you can expand your role and not just be a recruiter?
Yeah, man. Well, I just that's a great question, man. First and foremost, whatever school, whether it be Western Kentucky, Tulane, and or Houston, I want to do my job, whatever that job is, right? And so, but I just try to sit back and learn, man, and watch Coach Sampson. I watch Coach Brooks, how he interacts with different alumni that may come over. When we do our Cougar Club and our alumni is at our facilities and just talking to different people. And I think the best thing you could do is just try to soak up as much information possible. And like as far as developing. And so Coach put me in charge of the guards. That was the first time in my career that I've been in that position. At Tulane, I had to sit back and watch. It was my first job, so I watched guys like Coach Williams and watched guys like Coach Wilkins, who's at Georgia Tech now. So I watched those guys from a development standpoint. Now, I had did it all my life in my personal basketball training, but I hadn't done it at that level. And so I learned quite a lot just watching. And then now being put in the position, that I am in Houston and being able to work with guys like Rob Gray, Corey Davis, Galen Robinson, that was all new for me. So I kind of learned as I went. And so I think that developed me, not just as a recruiter, but a guy that's able to develop guys at a high level. And so the other thing is just, continue to do other things, man. And I'll go in our ops guy's office who helps out with scheduling and I'll pick his brain on scheduling and then just trying to not waste time, So like even right now, I'll try to call different coaches and talk to them about, the different schemes and, just get ideas and soak up as much information as possible. But I couldn't be in a better position right now. Just having those guys that I just told you about, Coach Brooks and Coach Sampson and Kellen, I'm learning everything, man. It's a blessing. It truly is.
Coach, Emmanuel Tommy, University of South Alabama. During this quarantine time, one of my things has been, reading up on, different leadership types and leadership strategies and, how, people are leaders and coaches are leaders. What are some of, Coach Sampson's best qualities, in being a leader? I know you talked about fairness, which obviously, that's big time, that's huge, but, he's had a lot of success everywhere he's been. So obviously, there's something that he does, that, has helped him along that way. So obviously, can you kind of hit on, what you kind of think that is?
Yeah, man, I just think it's his mentality, man. He has a underdog mentality. And one of the things he's really, really, really good at is motivating guys. He's second to none when it comes to that. And Emmanuel, man, some guys, like we watching the Jordan documentary, right? And Jordan just has that it factor, right? And so Coach Sampson, for me, in my opinion, has the it factor. In whatever way you want to define that, he has it. And so, man, it's just I can't, say one thing or another. He just has it, man. Really great at motivating guys, and how he came to be a great motivator is, I think, his upbringing has something to do with it. He's the ultimate winner, and he just hates losing, man. And some guys, it's different levels of how guys feel when they lose games, right? Even with players, I was one of those guys that when I lost, man, I cried, didn't want to lose. And so saying that, I can relate to Coach. Coach is one of those guys. He does not like losing, and I think that's what drives him. That's what drives him. So if I had to tell you anything, it'll be his self-motivated and a drive that he has to not want to lose. You know, he talks about all the time, and I'll share this with you. Every time he's been a head coach, he thought he was gonna get fired, right? So that's how he worked. That was his mindset. He thought, okay, I'm gonna get fired. Now, and that'll drive anybody. You know, you got a family, you're trying to make it in the career, and so that's his mindset.
Coach White, Alvin Brooks III at Baylor University. My question is, you had a successful career as a player. So how much do you take from your playing career to help the current student athletes that you coach?
Well, man, I take a lot of it. And I think I'm in a unique situation now, having played for Coach Sampson. And so every kid that I try to recruit, you know, I kind of tell them, look, man, I have the upper hand, and that it'll be easy transition for you because I know him like the back of my hand. And so I talk to them daily about things, and not just the guys I recruit, any one of our players, you know, that I talk to on a daily basis is, you know, here's what to expect. Here's what you can expect. Here's what he wants. You know, he doesn't mean this, you know, and so I think it's, you know, I try to carry over from my playing days, especially in the situation that I'm in right now, Al, you know, to try and relate to these guys and just make it easier for them.
John, go ahead. You had a question?
What's up, Quannas?
What's happening, my man?
So, you know, we all know in the coaching industry, coaches, we are accumulation of a lot of coaches that we encounter, rather who you work for, who you play for. You play for a legendary Hall of Fame high school coach, Bernard Griffin, a national champion down in St. Augustine in New Orleans. What are some of the traits that you learned from him, both basketball-wise and life-wise, that molded you into the guy, you know, the reason why Coach Sampson like having you around? What did you take from Coach Griffin?
Man, well, that's a great question, man. And I touched on that's where it started at, but I forgot to mention the most important thing, and that's Coach Griff. And what Coach Griff has meant to me in my career, he's helped shape and prepare me. And that's the best thing I could say. He's a hard-nosed coach, just like Coach Sampson. And he helped develop my character. If you couldn't be a mentally weak person playing for Coach Bernard Griffin. And so in every step that I took after St. Aug High School, going into Midland or even going to Oklahoma, I was ready. It's kind of like what I said with my younger brother Josh and developing him. And, you know, once we learn something or we have something instilled in us, the thing we want to do is pay it forward. And that's like I was talking to David. The reason why I'm on here, man, is to try to help someone else. And, you know, I still have a ton to learn, a lot of stuff to get better at. I make several mistakes at every spot that I've been in. And but what I want to do is just help other people, man. And so what Coach Griff did for me, John, is he prepared me in every single way you can think of for the opportunity that I have right now.
For sure.
Anyone else got anything for Coach Q?
Yeah, I got some. Jareem Dowling, assistant men's basketball coach at
What's
North
up,
Texas.
Jareem?
What's up, bro? I think it's funny with your story, and like I could relate to Coach Conroy about you not being pissed off and being like even keel and having a good attitude. Because I remember we were potentially going to work together at Southern Miss.
Yeah,
and
man. Yeah.
most people in your shoes who wasn't in college would be eager, be hungry for any opportunity. And I just remember you saying to me when you called me, like, look, if God wants me to be there, I'll be there. I'm not putting myself in any situation where I feel like I'm not going to be valued. And I respected you from that day forward, because most guys in your shoes would just jump at the opportunity, not even caring, you know, and you stood firm on what you believed in and how you carried yourself, and it paid off to you, man. So credit and salute to you, you know, because I remember us talking, you know, about you potentially coming to Southern Miss, and you wasn't just going to come just to take an opportunity to take one. It had to be the right one for you and your family, and I respect you for that.
And I appreciate that, man. And I you know, I was very close because I wanted to be with you guys, man. It was extremely hard to turn that down, man. But I appreciate that, Jareem.
Respect.
Anyone else for Coach Q? All right, well, Q, I appreciate you coming on, brother. Obviously, really appreciate your time and the thoughts that you shared. You got anything you want to leave as we close with you?
Man, just I want to thank you again, Dave. What you're doing here, man, and I really mean this is big, man. And that's smart. I heard you talk about, you know, you kind of piggybacking off what Coach Brooks, what Coach Al is doing, man, and what he's doing is amazing, man. So just continue to do what you're doing, man. I appreciate you having me on, and man, you guys, all of us have families, man. I hate what's going on right now, but you guys take time. What I'm doing is spending valuable time with my kids and my family, as well as working and trying to get better, man. So you guys stay safe. I appreciate y'all time, man. Thank you.
Thanks again.
And other thing, before I forget, man, I'm looking forward to listening to Coach Jareem, who like he stated, man, we almost work together, and also Coach Penny, man. So I'm looking forward to hearing those guys. Thank you, though.
Thanks, Q. Appreciate you. Next up, obviously he just introduced himself. So next up, we got Jareem Dowling at North Texas. Really excited to hear Coach Reem. So, Coach Dowling, all yours.
What's up, fellas? Jareem Dowling, assistant men's basketball coach of the Conference USA champs, University of North Texas. I always got to shout that out. You know, that's something to be proud of as a staff and as a university. So I got to shout that out. Put some respect in our name. Coach B, I appreciate you having me on here. And I really don't think this opportunity would happen for me if I wasn't a part of AB3's platform, Be Ready, because that's how we got to know each other. And it's been great to my coaching enhancement, as well as to my followers is up on Twitter and Instagram. And you know me, I love social media. So shout out to Be Ready for the platform, and shout out to you for having this unbelievable platform to give guys like myself and Quannas and Coach Penny an opportunity to, you know, speak our story to people that might want to hear our story. So thanks for having me. First and foremost, I'm from the U.S. Virgin Islands. I'm proud of that. I'm from St. Croix. You might have heard of a couple other dudes by Tim Duncan and Raja Bell being from there. But most importantly, I'm from there, and I'm proud to be from there. I left the Virgin Islands at a young age and moved to Wilmington, Delaware. I played high school. I played junior high basketball in the Virgin Islands thanks to my mom, because baseball was my first love. So my grades was going down, and my mom said, all right, you're not doing your schoolwork, I'm going to take away baseball from you. So I started messing with basketball, and the rest is history, because she knew baseball was my first love, and she never told me I couldn't play basketball, you know, because she knew I didn't like it. So I fell in love with it. I had a really good coach, Marvin Johnson, who had just moved to the Virgin Islands from New York, and he instilled discipline and hard work in us. And he saw how hard I worked as a player that wasn't really skilled and really good. And he introduced me to a family in Delaware where I had an opportunity to improve my academic situation as well as basketball. Moved to Delaware, played high school basketball at Howard Wildcats, a vocational school. I went there and played high school ball there for 3 years. I just worked my butt off the entire time I was there. Ended up being an add-on to the All-Star game my senior year. You know, somebody couldn't play and they added me on, so I was honorable mention All-State, and I made the blue gold game, and you know, I had 25 in the game, you know, for a guy being a replacement. After that, I went on to play junior college basketball because I wasn't recruited Division I. Neither did I have the grades. And I went to Cecil Community College, where I was there and then played for the legendary Bill Lewitt, where I was able to play there. I got injured. I actually got injured the day before Greg Marshall was coming to see me in my sophomore year when he was the head coach at Winthrop. Tore my ACL, you know, had to recover a year later, ended up going to Maryland Eastern Shore. Went to Maryland Eastern Shore, got my butt kicked a lot as a player, played a lot of minutes, learned a lot. And I think that's where the coaching bug came into me as a player at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. At the time, I won't mention his name, I had a coach that I was playing for that didn't care as much about the players and their well-being academically and athletically. And I was like, man, this ain't right. You know, coming from the legendary Bill Lewitt, where he cared about everything, and going to play for somebody that really didn't care about much. So I got into coaching. My first opportunity at coaching was in intramurals. Intramurals was more popular at an HBCU school than the actual games because we were getting our butt whooped. So I was the head coach of a team, and we made it all the way to the championship. We lost, and ever since then, I've just been in love. While I was in college, I had dreads. You know, I was kind of a roughneck, not a thug, but I was a roughneck, hard-nosed dude. And I knew I wanted to be a coach, so I called up my junior college coach, Bill Lewitt, and I said, Coach, I want to coach. And he said, all right, I'll get you some opportunities. Within a week, he probably had me about 10 opportunities to be a GA, assistant coach, or meals and stuff like that at different universities all around the East Coast. And I told him, I said, Coach, honestly, I want to work for you. I don't want to work for anybody else. I like what you did with me as a player, and I want to learn from you if I want to really become a coach. So I cut my dreads. Nobody told me to cut it, but I cut it because I wanted to change my image and, you know, start working on my brand per se. So Coach Lewis said to me, I was the first player that he's ever hired on his staff. His staff was intact for 12 years. And I said to him, Coach, what made you hire me? And he said, I just remember how you were as a player working at basketball camps, how serious you took coaching the little kids, how serious you showed up on time. You was always early to camps. You was the last one to leave, making sure all the kids get in the car with their parents, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, I got a contract for you, 25. I got 25 for you. So I'm thinking 25 grand. I'm looking online, trying to see what kind of car I'm going to get, all this type of stuff. I get there, and it's a contract for $2,500. And I'm like, whoa, what are we doing here, you know? And he said, you want to coach? He's like, I make $5,000. I'm giving you half of what I'm making to be a coach. And it was really a trying time for me. So I'm like, how am I going to live off of $2,500 and be able to coach full-time, et cetera? And the next problem that I faced was finding a place to live. Again, my head coach, Bill Lewitt, he had a 3-bedroom townhouse where he lived by himself. So I figured I was going to live with him. And he didn't offer me a place to stay. So I had to figure out a place to live. The first month, I would drive back and forth from Delaware to Cecil County, which was 30 minutes. And then one of my former teachers offered me his couch to sleep on in his 1-bedroom apartment for the remainder of the year, so I didn't have to drive back and forth right there in town. I started grinding that way with Coach Lewitt, showing me that nothing was going to be given to me in this profession. And as the year went on, I got other odd-end jobs to, be able to afford my place to live. I started working with the maintenance crew at Cecil Community College, where I was cutting grass every morning from 5 a.m. until 11. That was my shift part-time. And I would cut grass, et cetera, et cetera. And Coach will come by, pull up in his Lexus and wave at me as I'm cutting grass. And I'm getting ready for practice in my head mentally while cutting grass, thinking about how I can help the team be better that day. And, it helped instill a grind in me from an early stage in my coaching career. So I was fortunate enough to work there for 3 years, went 97-6 in 3 years as an assistant with Coach Lewitt, won a national championship. Then one day he came to me and he said, "You did all you can do here for me. It's time for you to move on." One of his good friends, Kevin Reynolds, had just gotten the head job at Slippery Rock University, and he offered me a position there where I was ecstatic. It was a full-time position, and I had benefits, health benefits for the first time in 3 years. And we went up to Slippery Rock and we had a successful 3 years there, where we had a winning season every year, went to the NCAA tournament for the first time in about 30 years at the university. And it was a beautiful transition coming from Cecil, not having full scholarships, not having, benefits, to come into a situation where I felt like I was at Duke. And one thing Coach Lewitt told me before I left Cecil is, no matter where you're at, make it the big time. Make it the big time. Be in that moment, be there, and enjoy the process. So I went on to Slippery Rock. I was there for 3 years, had a lot of success, graduated all our seniors in 3 years of being there. Same thing at Cecil. And then my head coach, Kevin Reynolds, remembered that he came from working for Nintendo Morehead State, where he worked for him for a year, and he had an opening. But at the time, there was a head coach at Arkansas State, John Brady, and he had an opening. So my head coach, Kevin Reynolds, called Donnie Tyndall to get Donnie Tyndall to vouch for me to John Brady to give me a chance to get an interview there. Long story short, Coach Brady didn't hire me. He went to a golf tournament in New Jersey, and I was in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. It's probably a 7-hour drive. I worked on my packet, and I drove all the way to New Jersey, rented a car in my name, in New Jersey, to this golf course that John Brady was going to be at golfing. And I left my packet there without John Brady knowing that I was coming. And I made sure that the receptionist gave it to him. Long story short, I didn't get the job. Donnie Tyndall said to Kevin Reynolds, "If this guy is so doggone good, why don't I hire him?" So Donnie Tyndall ended up hiring me at Morehead State, where I was able to work with him and coming in after his big successful year of beating Louisville in the NCAA tournament with Kenneth Fareed. And I worked with Donnie Tyndall. And the first thing Kevin Reynolds told me, he said, "Expect to be in the office for 14 to 16 hours a day. The first thing I would do, with your new salary, because I got a pay raise," he said, "I would buy a treadmill, because you're not going to have a chance to go to the gym. So get a treadmill for your apartment if you want to stay in any type of shape." So he wasn't lying. I was coachable. I listened to him. Went to Morehead State, where we had a successful season, not to the standards they had the year before, but it was good enough to where we had the opportunity to go to Southern Miss. We went on to Southern Miss, was there for 2 years, had 2 successful seasons at Southern Miss. After being at Southern Miss for 2 years, Donnie Tyndall was awarded the job at Tennessee. Me and Coach Tyndall had some heated discussions throughout my 2 years at Southern Miss, and the opportunity came to go to Tennessee, where I got demoted. It was easy for him to demote me at Tennessee, going to a new situation versus doing it at Southern Miss. And I think it's important that guys hear the good and the bad in the business, you know. And I wouldn't say it was a bad; it was a life lessons for me, you know. Where I was demoted to player development at Tennessee, you know, after helping put in work for 3 years with Donnie Tyndall. And, you know, I called my mentors, Bill Lewitt, Jerome Tang at Baylor, let them know what was happening. And, you know, I just kept chugging along, you know. And a week later, after the press was released, you know, showing the different positions, I got a call from the legendary Doc Sadler, where he took over the job at Southern Miss, and he basically asked if I wanted to come back from my old position. I called my mentors again, Bill Lewitt, Jerome Tang, asked them what they thought, and they said, "You're a basketball coach, you know, no disrespect to any player development out there, but they say you're a basketball coach and you need to be on the floor. You need to go back to Southern Miss." So I rented a one-way car and drove back to Southern Miss. Luckily, I still had my apartment and everything was still intact because the movers didn't come yet. Was able to work with Jeremy Cox and Doc Sadler and Chris Croft at Southern Miss for a year before I went through an NCAA investigation for some things that happened during my era at Southern Miss. So with that being said, I went back to Southern Miss. You know, there's a lot going on around the investigation. So it was kind of a rocky situation. We had a losing season. Some players became ineligible. I went through the whole NCAA process. And I remember getting the call from our AD to come over to the office. And he said to me, you can either be fired or you can resign. And throughout that whole period, that year, when the investigation started, Doc Sadler, Jeremy Cox were so positive and instrumental in keeping me, because here's a young coach, know nothing about what's going on, NCAA investigation, and they just kept telling me, tell the truth, keep your head up, you'll be fine, et cetera, et cetera. And so I decided to resign. After I resigned at Southern Miss, I got a call from one of my good friends who was a competitor at another junior college about an opportunity to be a head coach at a newly developed prep. Went there for a year. We had 7 Division I players in our first year. It's now called Scotland Prep, run by Coach Cheney. I was able to go there and work on my skills, work on my leadership skills, work on running a program. It taught me how to be a head coach. It moved me over to that seat 15 inches to see what head coaches go through and run a daily operation of, I had about 20 kids that I was in charge of, not just for 3 hours of practice, but for every day of the week because they lived on campus. I had a great staff and 2 of my former players. You know, they were instrumental in helping us develop these kids academically and basketball-wise. Had some good players. After my year there, you know, went through the whole NCAA investigation. NCAA investigation was over, and, you know, they found no wrongdoings in myself on the staff. So I was able to come back into college basketball. And my mentors, Jerome Tang, Bill Lewitt, who was by my side throughout the whole process. Coach Tang, you know, sent his staff from Baylor, Coach Drew, I think Coach Brooks came, I think the last time. Coach Brooks came, Coach Mack came. He sent his whole staff from Baylor to come to Scotland to help verify our relevance, you know? So, because you know how coaches are. They see such and such going to a gym, they're going to come. So that's how invested Coach Tang was in myself and the program from afar by helping us be solidified to where now NC State was coming in. Now Jim Boeheim was coming in. It just rolled after that, you know, because of the help of Coach Tang and the staff at Baylor. And after the year at prep school, I got an opportunity where I could have ended up going to Missouri as an assistant coach. And Coach Tang called me and he said, look, it's not about money. Money's going to take care of itself. You need to be with great people that are going to help you develop. He's like, I'm going to do everything in my power to get you a chance to go with Coach Grant McCaslin. And surprisingly, which I thought that would never happen, here's a first-time Division I head coach, okay? Just left Baylor, got the head job at Arkansas State. Already put together great staff in Ross Hodge and James Miller. And Coach Tang said he's going to do everything to get me on that staff. And I'm like, just came off an NCAA investigation. Who's going to touch me? You know, because regardless of what anybody says, there's a stigma that goes with it, you know, because through an investigation, you know, innocent until proven guilty, but that's never the case with the NCAA investigation stuff. So Coach Matt calls, offers me the job, and pretty much changed my life in the whole perspective from not only basketball, but fate-wise, you know, because during my time at Slippery Rock, my brother had committed suicide, so I was kind of on the fence of my, you know, and coming and working with Ross Hodge, James Miller, Grant McCaslin, they brought me back over the fence with my faith without even knowing they were doing it. You know, we were doing studies, et cetera, like that, and it just made me remember how great God was. So I was able to work at Arkansas State with Grant McCaslin, Ross Hodge, and James Miller. We had a successful year, beat Georgetown at Georgetown. It was an unbelievable feeling. I just remember people telling me before I went to work for Coach Mack and Ross Hodge and James Miller that it was a heck of a staff and I need to learn everything I could possibly learn and we're going to win big. And I just remember telling those guys after the Georgetown win, man, people were telling me this. So I was in the right place at the right time. I was fortunate enough to be taken with Coach Mack from Arkansas State to North Texas, where I'm at right now. And I said fortunate because in this profession, a lot of dudes get left behind. You know, a lot of dudes get left behind. But something that was instilled to me from Bill Lewitt is every day is an audition. You know, every day you're auditioning for your next job. And you never know what can make or break you with a staff or with your boss to be successful to go on to that next spot. And Coach Mack has been great to myself. He's been great to our staff. Ross Hodge has been a brother, a friend, a mentor to me. Same with James Miller. And now we have Matt Brower, you know, AKA I call him Tommy from the 50 Cent Show, because he's a live dude that's competitive, aggressive in coaching and wants to be successful. And, you know, that's pretty much my story. I've been in the Virgin Islands team for 13 years now. I was supposed to be the assistant coach to Monte Ross, who had just gotten the head job at the University of Delaware. And he couldn't do it the last minute. The president at the time, C. Richards, who was just the former president of entire FIBA, knocked on my hotel room and handed me the book with all the rules for international rules. And he said, all right, you got it this time. And that was 30 years ago. You know, I managed of it, had success, winning 6 medals in 13 years at the junior level, won 4 medals with the senior team as an assistant, working for Sam Mitchell, to name a few guys that have coached the national team. And I just think that coaching in perspective for me it's about relationships. I invest in the people that I'm around daily. I invest in the players that I'm around daily. I invest in my players when they're no longer with me. You know, I always tell my players, you're going to be my player when you're playing for me, and then you're going to be my brother when you're done playing. So that relationship with my players is ongoing, and I'm successful because I've been around the right people in my coaching career. I've been around some great coaches. Adam Howard, who's an assistant coach at South Alabama, one of my best friends. James Miller, Ross Hodge, now Alvin Brooks, the third. You know, we was associates before, but now we're brothers, you know. And I'm just continuing to invest in relationships because that's what takes care of me in coaching, you know, because I invest in people, they invest back into me, you know. So I like to do the mirror effect. What I give you, I expect to receive. And that's pretty much my story. I don't want to be too long-winded, but we've all paid our dues. And the thing is that I would like to tell any young coach is don't make any excuses for why you're not where you want to be. Don't make any excuses to where, you know, oh, I'm not making enough money. I'll be honest. I'll be transparent with y'all because I like to take these opportunities to be transparent and honest. I make a lot of calls daily, but I do it while doing other things. And y'all gonna laugh and you're gonna say, what? I do Amazon Prime. I deliver groceries for people right now. I do Uber Eats. I deliver food to people's house right now. Okay, I do DoorDash. Okay, do I need to do it? No, but I do it to occupy my time and give me time to be in the car to where I'm not talking my wife's head off. And I help provide for other people that might not have a car. Prior to this pandemic, I was doing Uber in my spare time. And you probably saying, well, when is your spare time? Yeah, 9 to 11 at night. Because I learned at a young age working for my grandmother in my elementary days, I would sell peanuts 5 days a week in the Christiansted part of St. Croix every day to business owners, senators. I've learned to grind my life. So for you guys that's sitting around saying, I'm not making enough, I'm not doing this enough, there's avenues to get money if you want to get money, if that's an issue for you. Okay, so I'm a Division I basketball coach. I do Uber. I do Uber Eats. I do DoorDash. It keeps me humble. You know, it keeps me humble that I'm delivering food to people. So it keeps me humble. It keeps me in perspective. And I also turn that around because we all deal with this as college coaches. Our players like, Coach, I ain't got no money. So when I go to my players and I tell them I'm doing Uber Eats and DoorDash, they look at me like, for real, Coach? Now I got 5 players doing it. Now they shoot me text, Coach, I just made 200 today, you know? So I like using life lessons to teach my players just more than X's and O's, you know? So that's pretty much my story. Any questions? Feel free to hit me any questions.
I got a question.
Oh, boy, here we go.
DJ Cox, Tallahassee Community College. Jareem, first of all, the fact that you missed up on power here, I know you're upset with yourself. That's the title of Tommy. Second of all, you have a coin phrase. You said you wanted to be one. Can you kind of talk about that, please?
Absolutely. So I always tell the players when they hit that rock bottom phase of where they're struggling and, you know, they're not having the success they expected to have immediately, that they signed the paper to be here at this university, that you said you wanted to be great. And I always remind them constantly, you said you wanted to be one. You said you wanted to be great. You said you wanted to be all conference. And that's a catchphrase that I've used for 15 years of coaching. And players from my first year of coaching until now, they know I say that to them in the times of when they have disbelief in themselves, you know, as far as being great or being able to get the task done.
Hey, Dream, Kareem Brown here from Niagara County Community College. Just real quick, how has your brand changed from when you first started coaching till now? Obviously, you said you had dreads, which I actually had, and I cut mine 3 years ago. But from the first time you got into this business until the end, how have you developed or changed your brand over the years?
That's a great question, Coach. I think my brand has changed with all the great people I've worked with, because I'm like a sponge. I like to soak in constructive criticism from my coworkers. I like to soak in knowledge from my coworkers, from mentors, from people that I know more than me, because I don't know everything. And I think it's changed because I allow myself to be coachable, even at this stage in my career, to where I'm always open to honest assessment of myself. And the whole social media thing kind of took a life of its own. I primarily did social media for my siblings and my family back home. And everybody always said, man, you put everything on there. Well, I don't get to see my family as often as most people get to. So I know my family's on social media, from aunts, uncles, cousins, sisters. So I pretty much put a glimpse of what I do daily on there, so they can see me moving around and being active, from basketball to messing around with my wife. And I just think my brand has gotten better because of the people I've been around and the people that I have in my life on a daily basis. And I continue to accept coaching from other people, which allows me to be better. I got to give a shout out to Ross Hodge, because daily, nightly, that dude is a head coach. And he says a lot of things to me that, as I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly, as a Caucasian male to an African-American coach, you can see the success that he wants me to have on a daily basis by what he says, because I don't know too many guys that are like him, that wants to see you be successful, because a lot of people want you to be successful, but not as much as them. And he has done that for myself, Matt Brower, James Miller, and, Coach Tang, Coach Bill Lewitt. They're consistent mentors in my life, Sam Mitchell. And now AB3, he's a mentor to me. He might be a year older than me, but his coaching platform, Be Ready, is the first coaching clinic I've ever been a part of. And because of this, Coach David got me on here, so it's allowing me to enhance my brand, meet different people that I've never met. And I was serious in the beginning, man. Since doing these type of stuff, my followers has went up. I've been in contact with a lot of different people, and just constantly trying to evolve every day, man. As a great person first, and a basketball coach second. That's the biggest thing to me that helps my brand, if I have a brand, be what it is treat people the way I want to be treated.
Coach Jareem, this is Coach Justin Chartrand at Tusculum University. Wanted to ask you about, in terms of, as you moved up, you worked your way up in this business, was there a process? How did you get it to where you feel like you had your priorities straight, to where you understood it just wasn't basketball 24/7, that you put time back for other people, family, friends, yourself, whatever it may be, as you worked your way up?
That's a good question, Justin. Definitely, as I work my way up, every job I've gotten, the guy that I worked for previously promoted me to the next job, except for me going to Coach Mack. It was recommended to him by my mentor, Coach Tang, and Jeremy Cox and Doc Settler. They all spoke on my behalf. I think the biggest thing is not skipping a step, understanding that nothing is beneath you, not thinking that you're bigger than anybody else. And I think once you do that, you'll build a bridge to where other people can cross that bridge. I don't like not showing appreciation to anybody that I work with, from the managers to the GAs to the janitors. I like showing appreciation and thanking them daily for what they're doing. And, we have a group text as assistant coaches, and I always text Ross and Matty B probably once a week, and I'll be like, man, I love working with y'all. Y'all are great. And they always go crickets and get silent when I say that, and change the subject, because I guess I get too mushy in telling them the truth, because it's hard finding genuine people to work with in this profession, the crab in the barrel mentality. And I don't have that. If I can help somebody, I want to help them because I want to help them, not because I'm looking for something else in return. And that's what have kept me in this profession that long, and I think that's what's going to give me longevity.
Coach, how you doing? Brandon Cosby down here in Miami-Dade. How are you?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Question. I know you said you had some heated coaching arguments. What were some of the takeaways from those encounters that you would, because not every staff is going to have the same philosophy on certain things. How do you go about voicing, in a positive way versus, being taken away as a negative, as, not being on board with the program, but just expressing your honest opinion versus, being in that negative light?
I think every staff is going to have heated exchange. But the line that I think can never be crossed is the respect from a man to a man. Once that line is not crossed, I think it can be as heated as it needs to be, as long as we all get on the same page. And that's what makes the staff that I'm on right now so great. Coach Matt challenges us. Ross Hodge challenges us. Matty B challenges us. And I'll give you an example. One staff meeting, they were asking me some questions, and it was kind of heated, and I was upset. So me and Coach Mack, going back and forth, arguing about the situation, not arguing, but discussing the situation. And Ross kind of challenges me like, the guys did Scottie Pippen in the locker room, but my team like Scottie did. But he challenged me by saying, hey, Ring, you're in your feelings right now, man. Get out your feelings. Get out your feelings. So when he said that to me, it made me refocus my thought process, because he was a good teammate, telling me the truth about myself, and brought it back to perspective. And again, once it's not disrespect from a man to a man, I think there's going to be heated exchanges in staff meetings, and everybody's not going to agree. If we're all agreeing, we're not getting any better. Like, our head coaches don't hire us just to agree with him. He hires us to have problems, solve them, figure them out together. And as long as we walk out that office all on the same page, we move on from it.
Gotcha. I appreciate it, Coach.
No problem.
Coach Dowling, Aziz Ali, Middletown High School. I follow you on Twitter, follow you on Instagram. I noticed you are a great connector, always connecting people, always trying to help people. Where did that come from? Talk a little bit about that. You always want others to have as much success as you have. And it's always, I see it like it's genuine. Where did that come from, Coach?
I would say it comes from my grandmother, because she wanted all her kids to have everything, and she didn't want one to have more than the other. And I just like seeing people happy, you know. And I think there's a lot of people that are really, really great in this profession that might not know somebody else that I might know that I can connect them with. And my biggest joy is connecting people that have the same vision to do something with each other. And that brings joy when, you know, they connect and it works out to their benefit with nothing for me to gain other than just seeing them connecting and being happy. So if it's something positive, if it's something that I feel it's genuine and it's honest and there's no gray area, I'm gonna support it like it's mine. You know, I'm gonna support it and represent it on a daily basis like it's mine. Once I see the vision that, you know, the thing is going in, you know. So that's just my makeup. I like sharing.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Coach Dowling, Alvin Brooks III at Baylor University. To piggyback off of that social media question, to me, you're one of the most creative dudes on social media with your checks at night, your room checks at night on the road before the games, and you're in the locker room before the games, and, you know, guys running through the tunnel. Have you thought about how you're going to keep that going once you become a head coach?
I don't think I'll stop it. Honestly, I don't think I'll stop it. I just love being down to earth, you know? I love being down to earth. I like doing what people think we shouldn't be doing, you know? And I blame it a lot on the rap music and the reggae music, because that's all I do is listen to music all day. I probably watch TV 2 hours a night, and that's from like 12 to 2 a.m., you know? But other than that, I listen to music all day, and I get my creativity from music, and I get my creativity from the players that I'm around, you know? And I see that they like it, and it gets them going in a positive way a lot of times. And sometimes, you know, they might be upset and they don't want me to film them, but I still film them anyway. And they laugh about it later, you know? So I just, again, social media just kind of took a life of its own. And it's my photo album. So when I'm long gone after this earth, my daughter and my future kids can always Google or look up and see, man, daddy was fun. Daddy was that, you know, and it's there forever. I don't put out anything that I'm ashamed of or don't want to be out there. I put out what I want people to see and remember me as.
Awesome. Well, Coach Jareem, I appreciate you being on with us. Obviously, dropped a lot of good pointers and wisdom for people to see. Do you have anything you want to close with? Any closing thoughts or parting words you want to leave the audience with?
Be yourself. Be yourself, and there's a phrase. I don't want to disrespect anybody by saying this. A lot of people like to say they bet on themselves. I don't bet on myself. I bet on the people that I'm around daily. You know, I bet on those people. That's who you need to bet on. Don't bet on yourself, because coaching is not a one-man sport or a one-man job. It's done by committee, you know, and you got to bet on the people that you're around daily if you want to have success in this profession. If you're just saying you're going to bet on yourself, I don't think your longevity and your goodwill would be as great as you want it to be if you didn't invest in the people that you're around daily and people that you talk to.
Absolutely. No, I think that's really good. That obviously we're all a product of the people we're surrounded by. And obviously I think as you've mentioned, as I've gotten to observe you and get to know you, obviously you're surrounded by some dang good ones. So much respect to you, and obviously really thank you for coming on and sharing.
No, thank you for that.
Dowling and also Coach White.
Yeah.
Is there any way that how can we stay in contact with you guys?
My cell phone.
Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat if you want.
I got you.
Okay, I'll put my number in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate AB for putting me onto that. No telling how many people on the internet can get them. Thanks, AB, for that.
Yeah, Jareem gonna have everybody and their mama calling him.
So, but thank you guys, Coach Jareem, Coach White, for coming on, and obviously really excited to next up, Coach Penny Collins, head coach of Tennessee State. If Russ Williamson's recommendation went forward, you got some big shoes to fill, Coach. So hopefully Russ's recommendation. But no, I'm really excited. Obviously got to observe you back to your days at East Tennessee. So I'm really excited that you're joining us and going to share with us. So Coach Penny Collins.
Man, hey, first of all, thanks for having me. Dave, I'm just honored that you even, invited me. Obviously, Russ, with the recommendation. I call Russ Mr. Zoom right now. This man on every Zoom call in the country right now. Every time I look up, he got, hey, guys, let's watch this Zoom. Hey, we got another Zoom today. I said, damn, you Zoom 2.0, ain't you? So Russ is crazy, but that's the Mr. Relationship, man. I love Russ. Love he's on our staff, man. He's doing an unbelievable job. And as well as our other guys on our staff. Coach Ben Walker from Creighton, Hall of Fame player. Lucky to have him on our staff. Coached South Dakota State, helped him to the NCAA tournament. And then my other coach, Jerry Nichols, who was a JUCO guy just like myself. We had a lot of battles together. And to have him on my staff, and I got an unbelievable staff at TSU. So just really love those guys. I do want to say something about Quannas and Reem, man. You never know who's watching you. That's all I can tell y'all, boy. I remember coming up in this game as a young fella and being at an NAIA school and JUCO schools and out there at the tournaments. And I would see y'all boys walk around with the Western Kentucky logo on. And then you came with that Houston logo on a couple years later, Quannas. And I remember seeing Jareem and remember just always just like really like looking at them dudes like, man, I want to be in them shoes one day. Like real talk, man. Like y'all just never know who's watching you, man. So much respect to both of you guys. I mean, I'm just sitting back here listening to y'all talk like, damn, you just never know, man, like who's watching. That's the one thing I keep on coming to my mind. And as I'm hearing y'all talk, I'm thinking to myself, like, it ain't no excuse why y'all dudes are winning where y'all are. Y'all got this championship, that it factor you talk about that Kevin Sampson has. Y'all boys got it too, man. Like, I'm just sitting here looking at y'all like, where y'all at right now? Y'all gonna be head coaches in no time, man. It's like y'all got it. This dream and stuff you talking about connecting people and treating people the right way. That's how you get where you need to go. You know what I'm saying? That's obvious. Like, you're gonna make it simply because you're doing the right things. And I got this slogan, not trying to make my slogan matter to your life, but I got a slogan called Deserve to Win. And it basically means if you do what you're supposed to do off the court and treat people the right way, from the janitor all the way up to the CEO, that when it's time to get to the game time, you're going to be fine. Like, you embody that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been following your career as well and your ups and downs. And, I think the true mark of a man is how he is when adversity hits. And, to see your career come full circle, man, like, nothing but respect for you too, for you as well, bro. So with that being said, I'm gonna try to talk really quick. I don't want to be long because I know we've been on here a while, but I'll give you the quickest version I can of how I got to where I am. And then you guys can ask whatever you want to ask. But I'm a coach's son. I've been around basketball since I was born. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, basketball hotbed. And we moved to Nashville when I was around 12 years old. So I consider myself a Nashvilleian because I've spent more time in Nashville than I have in Memphis. My dad ended up being a Hall of Fame coach, coached over 40 years. And so being around basketball is kind of like in my DNA. Growing up, I didn't really want to be a coach. I wanted to play in the NBA. Who didn't want to play? That's everybody's goal, to play pro ball. I did have a chance to play college basketball. I started all 4 years at Belmont University. When I got there, they were a team that was struggling. They were NAIA program that just turned Division I. So when you make that transition from NAIA to Division I, you kind of go through some tough times. And Rick Berg was a phenomenal coach in the NAIA, but once he got to Division I, they were going through that transition of trying to figure out who we were. So my freshman year, we played in Atlantic Sun Conference, and we had a lot of really good seasons. And then my senior year, we ended up going to the NCAA tournament, the first ever in school history. And I'm proud to say I was a captain of that team. To be a part of that, to be a part of the first ever in Belmont history is definitely something I love to tell people and hang my hat on. And I'm proud of that. But when I left Belmont, I had a chance to play. And hold on, before I leave the Belmont Quannas, I want to tell you about Kelvin Sampson. My senior year, we played Oklahoma. And Oklahoma beat the hell out of us, but it was a good game. Like, we played well. You know how it is when mid-majors play high majors. You ain't going to beat them unless you just play amazing. And Oklahoma beat the hell out of us. But after the game, I'll never forget, and when you was telling your story, I was like, he ain't lying about Kevin Sampson. Kevin Sampson, we got beat. I think I had like 5 points, maybe 7 points. But I had a good game, you know what I'm saying? Just didn't turn it over a lot, just had a solid game. He came and found me in the hallway after the game and said, "Hey, Collins, you're going to be a pro one day. Keep working on your game. Stay focused." He gave me just like 3 or 4 sentences. It was maybe a 15-second conversation with Kelvin Sampson. And I'm not going to lie to you, that gave me a lot of confidence when he told me that. I think I was averaging, I was averaging like 6 points a game, like during that little span at the beginning of my senior year. After that, I averaged like 15 points a game for the rest of the season. That's a true story. Kelvin Sampson gave me some stupid confidence after we lost to Oklahoma, and I'll never forget that. So I wanted to share that. But but after my senior year, I had a chance to, get ready to play pro, and I went to Atlanta Hawks. I got cut before summer league started, and then I went to play in I ended up getting drafted in the D League by Jim Herrick, who coached UCLA and national championship team, and ended up playing for Jim Herrick out in Bakersfield, California, with the Bakersfield Jam. That was a great time for me because I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Jim Herrick. Like, we'd be on the plane rides and he make me sit next to him, and we'd be in practice. He make me stand right next to him all the time. And it used to get on my nerves because coach would be like, he called me Belmont. My nickname was Belmont. So he'd be like, "Belmont, come stand right here. Belmont, sit on next to me on the plane." I'd be like, "I don't want to sit next to coach on the plane." And shit. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to sit next to the head coach. And every time I was with him, he would always give me stories about being a coach. Man, sometimes a lot of the stories is like, "Are you sure that it's something you might want to do one day?" Because it's going to take you away from your family. You're not going to spend time. You're not going to see your son play little league games. You're not going to be able to go to the school plays. Like, he would tell me stuff like that, but he also would tell me all the positive sides of getting into coaching. And he kind of took a liking to me, and he became a mentor of mine. And I ended up leaving Bakersfield because I had an opportunity to go to play overseas in Finland, which was a lot more money. Obviously, back then in D League, you didn't make no money. We were making like $1,100, $1,200 a month. So I ended up going overseas and playing in Finland, and that was really good for me. And the biggest thing that happened for me in Finland was when we practiced. And this was around the time, if y'all remember, the USA team had just got drilled in the Olympics. Y'all remember, like, when the Olympic team came, like, got the bronze medal and stuff like that, and we got embarrassed. So this is right around that time. So I'm thinking, like, after practice, I would see the Finnish teams, like 10 and under, 12 and under, they'd be practicing, and they had those guys in there practicing like Army, like the Army and the Navy. Them dudes was taking charges in straight lines, the whistle blew, nobody moved. Like, it was like on some real live Army stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, this is why our USA team got their ass beat, because these dudes overseas are disciplined and they doing what they coach tell them to do. And my teammates and my coaches, they were watching like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird highlights and John Wooden breakdown and like real fundamental. And everybody knows international players, they're real fundamental. And by now I'm thinking like, that's why they're catching up to us, because these guys are learning on a whole nother level at an early age. These dudes 10 years old taking charges, doing charge drills. I'm like, damn. So I said, when I get back to USA, I'm gonna try my best to teach this to young kids. So I was playing pro ball, but when I went back in the summertime, I wanted to start working with kids. So how I did that was I started working camps. So I worked Belmont's camp, I worked Vanderbilt's camp. I ended up getting invited to Tennessee's camp, which is a very key moment in my coaching career. And I worked all the little local camps that were going on. So if the local radio station have a camp, I'll go over there and work the camp. And what I started doing was taking the best players, writing their numbers down, writing their name and numbers down from each camp. So it might be a 13-year-old at Belmont camp who I thought was cold, the best player at that camp, I write his name and number down. Lipscomb camp, write his name and number down. Vanderbilt, same thing. I'm right. Tennessee State, I worked their camp, write down the best kids. And I took all those kids and I tried to tell them I want them to come to my elite camp, the Brian Penny Collins run and gun elite camp at the end of the summer. That was my goal. I'm gonna get these kids and I'm gonna show them all the things I learned playing in Finland and playing for Jim Herrick. And I'm finna have my own little camp. Well, all them kids I've invited, I think I ended up getting like maybe 15, 20 kids to come to my first ever camp, which was in like 2007. And so from that camp, that's when I fell in love with coaching right there. I was like, all right, I can do this. This is fun. I got all the local college players to come work the camp with me. We literally had the camp at a community center called Watkins Park, who only had one full court. And if anybody that grew up in the community centers, they got something called community center lunches for the kids that got camp. So they come in crates and it's basically like a little Lunchable. One day it might be beef, some type of beef, meatloaf or something with some mashed potatoes and some macaroni in it. So another day it might be a cold bologna sandwich. Another day it might be peanut butter and jelly. And anybody know this? They got that milk with it. You got that milk, that chocolate milk, and then just that regular 2% white milk. So I'm literally feeding my campers that kind of lunch every day, and they loving it. Like I got kids from Belmont, Lipscomb part of town, eating bologna sandwiches and drinking chocolate milk at camp. And that's how I started. That camp right there, I kept doing that camp for the next 7 years. I started with 20 kids. We ended up having like 140 some kids by the time about 6 or 7 years into it. And now I kind of, obviously NCAA rules, I can't do the camp anymore. But that camp right there was kind of like my little baby every summer. And when I worked Tennessee State's camp that summer, Coach Cy Alexander, who's a legendary coach, who's been to 60 NCAA tournaments, was the head coach at Tennessee State at the time. And he was like, you know what, man, you working your ass off with these kids. Why don't you come be my GA at TSU? And I was like, I don't want to coach, man. I'm finna go back overseas and play. And I turned them down. I told Coach, no, I'm not interested. And at the same time, Coach Bird, I think maybe offered me the same job to be a GA at Belmont. And I was like, no, I want to play. So maybe a month went by and I really started thinking about what I wanted my future to be. And the deals that were coming through for me were kind of like you were saying, Quannas. I had like semi-pro teams calling me, they wanted me to stay and play in the ABA and the CBA and stuff like that. And I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to get into coaching. So I ended up turning it down. And I asked Coach Cy, did he still have that graduate assistant job? And the only real reason why I wanted to do Tennessee State is because it was something different other than what I had been through at Belmont. I had already played at Belmont, been on that side of it. I wanted to, go another program and kind of broaden my horizon a little bit and be in a different place. So I went to TSU, and just like Jareem said, then the opportunity to be at TSU, when Jareem talked about, building relationships and treating everybody right and doing things the right way, I did that 14 years ago at TSU. And I'll fast forward, I won't be at the Bulls documentary. Y'all know the Bulls documentary be 98 and flash forward at 89, 89 back in 96. But basically, I'm gonna fast forward 14 years ago when I was a GA at Tennessee State. That GA years is what got me the job 12 years later at TSU. Because in my time as a GA, I worked my butt off. I was in there early, stayed late. We worked really hard. We wanted to win, but it wasn't always about winning. We had my first year, we went to the OVC championship game. I think we ended up beating Illinois that year, which was huge for TSU. But it wasn't about that. It was about how I treated people and how I was every day, my professionalism, and coming in and about my business. I was one to be the head coach when I was a GA. Like, I was like, man, I know I wasn't ready, but I had the mindset like, man, I want to be the head coach here one day. And my little crazy young ass, Coach Cy ended up letting Coach Cy go the second year, about midway through the year. And they were having all these meetings with the coaches. And my little crazy young ass was really thinking that they may give me the head coaching job for the last 8 games. But I'm just telling you, that's how confident I was. and that I wanted to be a head coach. Like my mom always told me when I was in middle school, she used to be like in the games, I'd be in the game playing, and after the game I get in the car with my mama, she'd be like, why are you out there playing with them little boys? You a high school player. You're gonna be a high school player one day. You out there playing around with them little middle school boys. And when I got in high school, you know what she said? You out there playing around. Why are you not going at these boys' heads? You a college player, boy. You a Division I player playing out there with the little ass high school boys. Kill them next game. You know, when I got in college, what you think she said? Boy, you out there playing around with them boys. You a pro. So I had that mentality like, I'm in here, I'm in coaching. Yeah, I'm a GA. Yeah, I'm an assistant. Why am I not working my ass off when I know I'm a head coach? I'm a future head coach. I need to act like it every single day. So that's kind of how I carry myself. And when I was around people that in the powers to be, I was the same person I am with y'all right now, but I was always genuine. I always care about people and always doing things the right way. So when I left TSU, I went to Cumberland University for 3 years and spent a lot of time there. And during my time at Cumberland, I learned a lot under Lonnie Thompson. You know, I feel like I've told this story a lot over the last 2 weeks, but Lonnie Thompson is the best thing that ever happened to me because he gave me a lot of opportunity to work. You know, there ain't many young coaches, especially young African-American coaches, that get handed the clipboard during the game to drop a game-winning play. Like, I never forget, we playing against College of the Ozarks. I'm at Cumberland University, College of the Ozarks, and it's tie game, and we're at their gym. And College of the Ozarks is probably one of the most talented, well-coached teams I had ever seen at that time. And coach in the huddle, he said, Brian, sideline out of bounds. I'm 23 years old. Drop a game-winning play. I'm like, what? Like, so I had to lock in, drew up a game-winning play, and by grace of God, the boy hit the shot to win the game at College of the Ozarks. But how many head coaches are going to give their assistant coach opportunity to draw up a play to win the game, you know, and not really we never even worked on the play in practice and nothing like that. Maybe coach was tripping, but not to me. To me, that was a great opportunity for me. And it really gave me a lot of confidence. Coach Thompson made the phone call for me to get the head coaching job at Columbia State as a junior college head coach at 25, 26 years old. I went down there. I interviewed with the athletic director. He gave me the job on the spot. You know what I'm saying? That was how it went. And our first year there, man, we got our ass towed up. We probably won 11 games. And the NJCAA ended up stripping every game from us because we played an ineligible player who didn't have one piece of paperwork transfer waiver done. It's a long story, but they ended up taking our games away. So by law, we were 0-27 that year. But we had won 11 games. So going into year number 2, man, I said, I can't go through this again, man. We got, you know, me and my staff, we recruited hard as we possibly could. And I only had 2.5 scholarships. So, I mean, my JUCO guys know that's how it is in JUCO. Some JUCOs got full scholarships and some, you know, don't. And we only had 2.5, so we grinded and, you know, I pieced together the best team I could. And I ended up getting a kid by the name of TJ Dunnins, who really, him and this kid named Justin Pride, my 2 best players, ended up changing our program. TJ went on to be the #1 JUCO player in the country, and Justin Pride ended up leading the country in assists. And we went from that 0-27 season to 28-2, and we were the #3 team in the country in JUCO basketball in 1 year. That one change. And so that got a lot of people's attention around the country in JUCO ball, and then a lot of coaches, Division I coaches, were coming in and out of my gym at that time. But that same year, Tennessee State job opened up again. I was like, you know, like almost fate for me to get the job. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, like my mama said, boy, it's your time. You know, you the head coach. So I tried to get the job, you know, after 1 good year. And they actually brought me in for an interview, which was great for me. And Quannas said something great about how he didn't get a job a couple times and he always treated them right. Well, I didn't get the job in 2014, but I didn't bat one eye. You know, I stayed in contact with the people at Tennessee State, stayed in contact with the athletic director, and not like trying to get the guy's job that was there, just like Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, a good win last night. You know, just small stuff, just let them know that I'm always, you know, engaged in what's going on and ended up building a real relationship with the people that make decisions. So went on by my coaching career and, you know, stayed in contact with the right people and ended up having a chance to go to East Tennessee State with Steve Forbes. And Steve Forbes, hold on, before I talk about that, when I was in them younger years, one of the hardest things that a lot of coaches have done that we don't really talk about is driving 2 15-passenger vans every day. I know my AAU coaches out there, I know y'all do it, but we was driving 2 15-passenger vans every day to and from a game. So when you're on the way to a game, if you're driving 3 hours and you get out and you got to coach the game, that ain't that bad. You got enough energy to coach that. The hardest part was getting back in the van and driving 3 hours back with 15 kids in your van and their lives on the line. You know what I'm saying? You got their lives on the line. You ain't had no sleep because you've been doing scouts and all that stuff. So like all them years, I tell people all the time, those JUCO years, man, they feel like dog years. Like, because 1 year in JUCO, you should be prepared for anything you ready to get thrown at you. Like I literally would have to, this was my day. I'm gonna give you one good day in JUCO. First of all, I lived an hour away from Columbia State. So I would drive an hour to work, okay? I just had a newborn baby. So anybody with a newborn baby, y'all know how that is. You ain't sleeping no way. So I'm driving an hour to work. I get there and I work. So say it's a game day. Around 3 o'clock, if we play at 5, I would start the popcorn. Y'all know the popcorn cassette stand? I cut that on because I got to make sure that's ready to go. Then an hour and a half before the game, I would start taping my guys an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game, because I didn't want to not have them taped, their ankles taped. Mind you, during shoot around, I made our guys and our team, we put the bleachers out, pull the bleachers out and put all the chairs up and put the scoreboard out, hook the scoreboard up to make sure all that's ready to go. All right, some days our score clock wouldn't work because the wires would be messed up. So sometimes I literally have to turn into MacGyver and get a little piece of hot wire and turn that around and do all that, make sure that's ready to go. Every now and then, I have to remind the people at the front desk to take the money to be there on time, because sometimes they weren't there on time and people would just be walking in free. So this is a JUCO. This is JUCO for you. You know what I'm saying? This is the kind of days we had. So when I tell you 1 year in JUCO was like 3 or 4, shit, you got to be ready. When I got a chance to be at East Tennessee State as an assistant, I wanted water, and I turned to my left and the manager was handing me water. I was like, damn, I done made it. Like, for real, like that's how I couldn't believe, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't believe how much of I'm looking around like, how can y'all not be successful with all this help? Like, I'm used to doing everything. So being at ETSU with Coach Ford is the best thing that ever happened. If y'all heard any rumors about Coach Ford, about how he is, it's true. Like, dude is the best to work for. Like, he gets it. He understands it. He rocks with the coaches. He ain't gonna have you in there all day, but you gonna work your ass off. Like, you want to get some shit done, you're gonna have to work. You have to work for him for sure. But working for Coach Forbes was the best. We had a lot of success. Second year there, we ended up going to the NCAA tournament. Actually did bring one of my best players with me from from Columbia State to ETSU. TJ Cromer was an All-American for me. And shout out to Corey Black. He used to always tell me to control my product. So shit, I said, TJ, you coming with me to ETSU. And TJ ended up being all conference for us, averaging 20 points a game, hit 41 in the conference tournament, which hit 9 threes, which is the most threes since Steph Curry in the SoCon. And now he's playing pro ball over in France, making 6 figures. But when I left, I had to make a decision, man, to at ETSU whether I wanted to go on, and I ended up going to Illinois State with Dan Muller, who's the polar opposite from Coach Forbes in terms of they're just 2 different versions of head coaches, but both successful. Muller was coming off a year where he was 29 and something, and that's the year they got snubbed. They should have got at-large bid in the NCAA tournament, but they didn't get in. But I ended up going up there and helping him, and I learned a lot about detail and just doing things precisely right. Working with him was amazing for me, and it just sharpened me and made me even more ready to be a head coach. Well, I talked about what happened 14 years earlier when I was at Tennessee State. That year we were at Hutch. The coach at Tennessee State had just got the job at Missouri State, and those relationships that I had during my time as a GA and my time interviewing in 2014 allowed me to have the opportunity to get the job in 2018 when the job came open. The athletic director actually reached out to me, and she told me that she's been keeping up with me, and it's my time basically. So she gave me the opportunity to be the head coach at an early age, man, in my career. But it doesn't feel like it happened fast. But when I really look back on all the things I had to do to get here, it's been a grind. I'm entering year number 14, as a coach, as a college coach. And I feel like I really grinded to get to this point. And now it's all about making sure I'm carrying this torch for whoever's coming behind me. Just like how I watch, Quannas and Jareem walk around. I'm not I'm not dumb enough not to realize that I got young coaches like Coach Ferguson from Moorhead and Coach Maddox and Coach Du Bois. You know, you guys are next up, and I'm not dumb enough to realize that I need to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to be successful. So guys like Coach Cox at Tallahassee can be ready to be a head coach too. So, you know, I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and saying the right thing, but at the same time, the best thing I can do is just be myself. So in a short, long way, that's my story. And I've been through a lot, man. And my goal now is to get TSU is to be the best we can be and compete in OVC, and we're headed in that direction. So with that being said, you guys can ask me any questions that you want to ask.
Hey, Coach. This is Coach Tari Maben. Born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. Had no idea you were actually raised in Memphis before you moved to Nashville. So love hearing that. Been following you intently the past couple of weeks and hearing your story and how you got to where you are. I remember a couple of years ago being at Peace Jam, seeing you walk in and hearing people saying you're the new coach at Tennessee State or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. And then hearing your name was Penny. I went to Memphis East, so I grew up in the same area as Penny, had never heard of you. And what I realized was you were loud, not necessarily your voice, but your presence. You were very confident. You moved around very confident. And being from Memphis, I know all about Tennessee State, and to see the way you've turned the program around so fast and hearing you talk over the past couple of weeks and hearing your personality, I would dare to say that I feel that your career will probably move sooner rather than later. But my question is, you're a big personality guy. You are a people's person, I assume. I don't know you personally. And the way you were able to magnify the HBCU experience. You know, I graduated from Morehouse College, so I know what that experience is like. And so for you to recruit Division I players to come to your school and help put Tennessee State on the map, I don't know if this is a bad question or not, but what's like your short-term goal for this school? Because, hey, if you mess around and make it to the NCAA tournament next year or whatever, opportunities are going to start falling in your lap. So, like, what's your goal with Tennessee? Like, if you were ever to leave Tennessee State, on what terms would you want to leave that school? Like, I'm a head coach of a small private school, and I have my own goals and dreams as well. So I take a lot of pride in what I'm trying to develop at my school. So I'm asking that from a basketball standpoint of Tennessee State. Like, how do you want to leave it?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, Tariq, I'm from my pops was the head coach at Memphis Central High School. So, you know, we had beef with East.
Oh yeah.
Light Station and Fairleigh. Them were the teams back in the day.
That's right.
But yeah, man, you know, for me, appreciate you saying all that. But for me personally, my goal for TSU is to be the best version that we can be for ourselves. We want to compete in OVC for championships every year. You know, us being an HBCU, it is another special tag for us, because I would like for us to be one of the first HBCUs to make a run. I love for us to get into the NCAA tournament and put on for not only mid-majors, but for HBCUs as well. I would like for Tennessee State to be ranked in the country. There's no reason why we can't. You know, I look at schools like George Mason, who made runs to the Final Four, Wichita State, who made runs to the Final Four. Why can't Tennessee State be that? You know, but there also have been teams in the past, like Southern University, the Ben Jobe coach, that have went to the NCAA tournaments, HBCU teams, and knocked off teams before. So it's not like this is some impossible thing that's never been done. Tennessee State has a rich tradition. In the 60s, we had 4 guys on one team go to the NBA. Out of the starting 5, 4 of them went to the NBA. We were the first team in the history of basketball, college basketball, to win 3 straight national championships in NAI, which back then NAI was just as strong. And on that team was Dick Barnett, who their team just got inducted into the National Basketball Hall of Fame. And Dick Barnett went on to the NBA to win the Knicks 2 NBA championships and was the NBA All-Star. So for me, it's not like I'm trying to reinvent the wheel. I want to have my own path and create something special that me and my staff can do something really special, not only for Tennessee State, but for Nashville and any young player that's coming through the city and the surrounding cities. We want Tennessee State to be an option for them. And right now we're on that path, and we're headed to that level to where we're not looked at as the second or third option. We want people to stick to Tennessee State. Like the same way when you hear Wichita State and you hear that name, you hear some of these big mid-major names, We want Tennessee State to be that. And that's my ultimate goal. You know what I'm saying? That, to answer your question, my ultimate goal is for when you hear Tennessee State, you're like, oh, you don't want to play them. That's a really good team. They're a really good program, and they're well coached. And those guys represent Coach Penny and the staff the right way. So that's the ultimate goal. And I feel like we're really headed that way.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
I got a question for you, Coach.
What's up?
How you doing? Bernard Scott, Arkansas State. So just listening to you talk, listening to you, elaborate on everything that you've been through. Like personality-wise, I can tell you're authentic in a sense. So my question is, how do you maintain like your authenticity around like certain people, certain like, you know what I mean? Like how do you maintain being yourself? And that's just really, how do you maintain being yourself around certain people?
Well, obviously the obvious answer is just be yourself. I mean, that's not what I want to tell you, but what I want to tell you is that you got to make sure that you're polished and articulate at all times. You got to separate being around the homeboys versus being around professionals. We get all that. That's obvious. But at the same time, people read through bullshit. You know, when you're around somebody, you're trying to be somebody you're not. Athletic directors read through that. Presidents read through that. When you're around people and you're trying to put on some facade and use words that you really can't even pronounce, don't even know the meaning of, that don't make no sense. You be yourself, okay? You make sure that you're polished and articulate. You make sure you're reading a lot of books. You make sure you're a historian of the game. You make sure you know the history of where you come from and the people that came before you. And so that when you're around people and you're speaking on things, you're intellectual enough to understand that. And then when you get back in your car, you can cut Drake up as loud as you want to. You know what I'm saying? You can cut Jay-Z up loud as you want to. You can be yourself. But at the same time, man, like there's no reason why that you have to be some fake person around people. But I will say this though, and this is not just about a black coach versus a white coach thing, because I've spoke on this a lot over the last 2 weeks. But as young coaches, especially young black coaches, we have a superpower with putting this mask on and acting like different people, and then taking the mask off and being somebody else when we get back home. And that's exhausting. It really is to a lot of coaches. But to be real with you, you have to separate that self, and you need to be one person all the time. Because if you don't, you won't last long in this business. You'll die of a heart attack. You'll get cancer. Something crazy will happen to you to where you're trying to make yourself sick, trying to prove who you are and trying to make everybody believe that you're a certain kind of way. Okay, when you back at home, and this is for all coaches, wherever you are, get really good at your craft. Be just the best version of yourself, so that when you step out in public, you can just be yourself. You can't be no clown, like Jareem said. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with dreads. You can have dreads, but to his point, you can't be walking around with dreads, sagging pants, doing rap lyrics on campus, and your president or some administration person sees you cussing and fussing and doing silly shit. You can't do that. That's obvious. So, but it's okay that you like those things. But when you're in settings, you be yourself, you be authentic, you be polished. And when opportunity comes, if that person wants to give you a job, they'll give you a job because of who you are.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Coach Dowling, Justin Chartrand at Tusculum University. I actually got a chance to see you when you came to the league against Tennessee State. I was at Morehead State for a number of years as well. I was always admired. I always liked the way, just how hard your team competed. What would you say when you got to Tennessee State? Is there something that you guys have preached every day to build that sort of mentality with your guys, or is it more so, is it just culture or what in terms of how you get your guys to play as hard as they do, their intensity?
Justin, appreciate you saying that. I think the main thing is there's subtle things, like Quannas said about emptying the tank. There's certain little key words. There's certain little key words that you say every day. There has to be some type of standard that's very simple for these guys to digest every day. And it may be a simple word. And one of the things that we say is contest everything. Contest everything. So, and we say it every day. I don't care what you say. You can say, shit, jump rope every day. If you tell the guys we're going to jump rope every day, all of a sudden, them cats going to be the most jump roping team in the country. No matter what you do. No matter what you say to them, if you're doing it every day, say it every day, that team will be good at it. They'll become better at it. And one thing we say is contest everything. And I think defensively, that has really helped our team go from 300 something in the country to top 60 in the country, because we say contest everything. So every shot that goes up, we're trying to contest it. Every rebound, we're trying to go get it. It just gets our guys playing harder. But there's not one way to do anything. That's one thing that I've learned in my career, being under so many different coaches and seeing so many successful ways every single way. But one thing that I think is constant is whatever you decide that you want to hang your hat on, you have to hit it in these guys' heads every day. And then that becomes the standard of who you are.
Coach, how you doing? Brandon Cosby down here in Miami-Dade. How are you?
Doing good.
Coach, I got to say, you're probably one of the funniest dudes I ever seen on one of these Zooms, and I've been on a lot of them. I appreciate that. Recruiting-wise, now do you think that there's a level to change a kid's, because you say contest everything, empty the tank. Is that something that you recruit? Is that a quality that you recruit? Or are you under the philosophy that when they get here and they understand the culture here, that they're going to play that certain way?
Yeah, well, every guy we recruit has different intangibles from a talent standpoint. But from just a mental standpoint, they got to have a motor. If they have a low motor, then you can't change that. Like, it's hard to get guys to play hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can get guys to slow down, but you can't get them to play harder. Now you can compare them and get them better. If they got some type of motor, you can get that motor running a little hotter. But the one constant thing that we try to make sure we get is high basketball IQ, and they come from winning programs. Because when things don't go good, these guys can get back on task and get back to playing hard or working hard and getting back to the winning ways. They understand how to win. And that's one thing Rick Byrd taught me. If I can tell you one thing that Rick Byrd taught me in recruiting, and he really didn't tell me this is something that we learned in the locker room as players one day. We were all arguing about who had the best high school career. And everybody was going around the room and nobody was saying their stats. Everybody was saying, we won a state championship. We won a conference championship. We won a district championship. We won the Arby's Classic and the Naples, Florida championship. We won, everybody in our room had won a championship or had won a state championship at some point in their 4 years of high school. And I sat back and started kind of doing my research on the guys that Coach Byrd was bringing in. Everybody was coming from winning and has been coached before and had a high basketball IQ. And so I kind of been taking that same kind of philosophy at Tennessee State, that we want to make sure that the guys we have are getting. Now, you can't always get a guy that won a state championship or a national championship, but you want guys that have been a part of winning and that have high basketball IQ. Because in college in Division I, and I'm not trying to knock JUCO because I was a JUCO coach, but when you go from JUCO to Division I, the one difference is the scouting. It's way more detailed, and you have way more guys on the floor that have about high basketball IQ versus when you're in JUCO. So you can't half step, you can't miss something. That's the only one real difference from JUCO to Division I is the scouting that all the coaches are going to do. So you can't have guys on the floor that can't think. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's the biggest key, is having high IQ and guys that have a motor that come from winning.
Correct. And it's a second part to this. I played at a HBCU. I played in the CIAA. My question was, what are some of your biggest obstacles that you've kind of found some counters for coaching at a HBCU when you're going against other universities, because you're definitely trying to get the best player that you can find, and like you said, winners. What kind of, some of the techniques that you use to kind of sway some of those kids that are, trying to decide between Tennessee State and, a competitor?
I think the biggest struggle is just it just comes down to stuff. When you're recruiting against other big schools, they got more stuff. They got bigger facilities. They got, maybe newer facilities. But like you said, once you've been to HBCU, there's some things that HBCU can offer that other Power 5 schools just can't. They don't have that. But I think the biggest sales pitch for us is we sell ourselves. We sell the coaches. We sell the people in the buildings. We sell the relationships that we're going to have with the kids. That's the biggest sales pitch that I can possibly give anybody. Like, We're going to love on you. We're going to do everything we can for you. We're going to be authentic and have a real relationship with our players. Our guys come by the office they have to check in the office every day before 1 o'clock. And when they check in the office before 1 o'clock, we spend time with them. Like, I don't want my first time seeing my guy at practice. I don't like that. So when they come in the office, we laugh and joke with them. You know, we check in classes. We're up in study hall with them. After practice, they'll be in the locker room. We'll go eat, chill with them, hang out in the hallways. And sometimes we'll be ready to go and our guys won't be ready to go. They'll still be wanting to laugh and joke with us. So we have a good time with our guys and we have real relationship with our guys. And I think that's one of the things that, you sell, that gets guys past not having a brand new weight room or a brand new gym with the diagrams on the court, the 3D diagrams on the court during the start lineups and stuff like that. We just sell ourselves and fortunately, it has really paid off for us.
Gotcha. I appreciate it, Coach. It's definitely some insightful information.
No doubt. Appreciate you.
Hey, Coach. Carter Heston, Texas A&M Texarkana. I was just wondering, I saw you're at the NAIA level before, and that's where I'm at right now. And I was just wondering what your keys to success at the NAIA level were and how they differed from some of the different levels you've been at.
Honestly, it wasn't different as far as with the keys to success. I think the biggest thing is when you're there, if your goal is to move up, you treat it like you're at the level that you want to be at every day. If your goal is aspiration to be, at a Power 5 level, then you want to coach every day like you're at that Power 5 level. You want to treat them guys like it's Power 5 level. I'll never forget when I was there, our rival was Martin Methodist and Freed Hardeman. Those were like our rival games. And nobody else in the country cared about us playing against Freed Hardeman on a Saturday night. Nobody else was thinking about that, But to me, that was my Duke versus Kentucky, Duke versus North Carolina. And our players felt that way. But I think that's important that you making those guys feel and understand the significance of where you are. Where you are right now is the highest level that you could possibly be at. Don't ever think about NAIA being, well, I'm at the NAIA level right now. What's different? There's nothing different. You get every day and grind hard as if you were in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter what level you on. And, just because it's 1,200 people in the gym versus sometimes I know how it was for us. It was 40 people in the gym versus 4,000. It shouldn't sway you one way or the other, how hard you're going to work every day, how hard you're going to prepare every day. And get your young men excited to play as if they're about to play in front of 12,000 people every single day in practice, every single day, every game, every warm-up. You get them guys ready to go. And you'll just see over time, it might not happen right away, but over time, you'll just see improvement. And if your goal is to get out of there, it will happen.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Coach, Jareem Dowling, North Texas. Coach Nichols, Coach Russ, you got a heck of a staff, man. What interested you in those guys? Because I respect Coach Russ, and I know the great job that Coach Nichols did at his junior college. And I thought in my time of passing through his gym, I was wondering why nobody gave him an opportunity because he had a really, really good program going there. What made you pique your interest in hiring both those guys?
Well, appreciate that, Ring. Good question. Coach Russ, I've been knowing him since I pretty much got into the business, probably met him around the time I was working at Cumberland University. And I've always known him. And as y'all all know, Russ gonna stay in touch with you. And Coach Russ would, I'd always hear from him. And, one of the things that I liked about him the most was when I would see him, say like at an event we would be recruited at, we would always sit next to he would always sit next to me or I'll sit next to him and we just be rapping. And it wasn't always, and sometimes we would help each other. I, give them some names of some players here and there. It wasn't nothing fake about them. And when it came down to it, and I had the opportunity to hire him, I really felt lucky because he had an unbelievable amount of experience. He had been on a really good team, coaching a really good team at South Alabama. And I don't really like hiring people that I don't know at all. Like I've never ever talked to before ever. And so it was a no-brainer for me. And I had, the truth is I actually had interviewed a few different people for my, he was the last coach I ended up hiring. I had hired Coach Walker and Coach Nichols first. So he ended up being the last person I hired. And I actually interviewed 2 or 3 people before I got to Coach Russ. And the way God just works in mysterious ways, because he's actually better than any of the 2 previous guys that I could have hired. And what he's been able to do for us just from everything. But he's a I call him stat man too, because he be quick. Y'all know how you say how y'all say you're arguing with your coaches sometimes. Y'all have constructive criticism. Well, we do it sometimes too, but more it's more like coach, we'll be at halftime and we'll have everybody had a bot sheet, and Coach Russ will be like, "Damn, Penny, they're shooting 47% from the field. We got to stop them from shooting 3." I'm like, "Damn, Russ, I can read the stat sheet. I see that." So, I love Russ though. I love him on our staff. Our guys love him. We're always around him. Look, some people at my front door want me to give him some money. I'm gonna have to give him money in a minute. Look, my wife is talking to him. So anyways, but yeah, I love what he's doing for our staff, and we were just lucky to get him. And with Coach Nichols, I've been knowing Coach Nichols since I was at Cumberland as well. I sent him his first JUCO All-American. I went to an event. Everybody remember Ken Littlefield, right? I went to Ken Littlefield event in Atlanta, and there was this kid there named Freddie Goldstein. And I wanted Freddie to come to Cumberland, but he didn't have no grades. So I called Coach Nichols, and Coach Nichols ended up taking him at Milo State. And Coach Nichols was like a 23-year-old head coach. And he took him, and Freddie went to Milo, ended up being an all-time leading scorer, and ended up going to South Alabama, and Freddie's still playing pro ball now. So that was me and his first relationship. Well, I ended up being at Columbia State playing against Coach Nichols, and he had some monster teams. Like he had teams with 8, 9 guys go Division I all over the country, and he was beating the hell out of me my first couple of years. And then we ended up, having a lot of battles and rivalries, and we got really close. And I would always tell him, if I get a job, I'm gonna hire you one day. And he would tell me the same thing. If he gets a job, he hire me one day. So when I was at East Tennessee State, I continued to recruit his players, and we always rocked with each other. And when I got the call to be Tennessee State, my next call, like I got the phone, my AD's telling me I had a job. My second phone call was maybe to my wife, but my third phone call was to Coach Nichols. And luckily he was like, "Let's go." So we got on board, and we got to work and trying to put our team together that night. I was in Hutch trying to put my team together with Coach Nichols on the phone late at night. So that's kind of how Coach Nichols' thing worked, man. And he's a phenomenal coach. Worked with USA Basketball, Coach Markel Fultz, Michael Porter Jr., Trey Young. I mean, the dude's career has been amazing. And, I don't think he'll be with me long, but I'm glad I'm going to take advantage of him while I got him. Hold on. Here. Come here. All right.
Alvin Brooks III at Baylor University. What are some things that you did at previous jobs that prepared you to be a head coach now?
I think when I was at Cumberland University, that was the biggest thing for me personally, because when I was there, Coach Thompson, we had to sign 11 guys that year. That was the first thing. I ended up signing 11 of those guys. And then the next year, I ended up, Coach ended up making me do every scout for every single game. 30 games, 30 scouts. And as y'all know, doing scouts is long and hard. I remember not having no sleep during them times, doing scouts and stuff like that. So I believe that those times right there with doing scouts and signing out of the 12 players we had to sign, I ended up signing like 11 of them. Doing that gave me the confidence that I was ready to be a head coach. And obviously giving me the clipboard in practice, letting me draw plays in practice, giving me the clipboards in crucial moments of the game, trusting me enough to draw a play up. And then the proof was also in the pudding that we were good at what we were doing because, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Because we went from an 11-win team to an 18-win team to a 22-win team in my 3 years. So every year we just got better and better and better. So that gave me the confidence that, you know what, Coach Thompson is trusting me to do this as an assistant and giving me all these responsibilities. I think I'm ready to be a head coach. And this is my personal opinion, and I could be wrong. Nobody's ready to be a head coach until you're a head coach. So you can read books, you can do Zooms. They're going to help you have some type of relevance of what's going to happen. But until you actually become a head coach, you're going to go through some things that you're not going to do right. And then the key is to make the adjustments. You know, just like when I tell you you're going to be a father, you can read all kind of books you want to on how to be a father, but to actually have that baby and wake up 2 a.m. and then 3 a.m. and then 4 a.m., that's a whole different beast. So I think that once you become a head coach and you get on the job and learn, then you just kind of get better as you go. You're going to go through some positives and negatives, and you just kind of you learn and make adjustments. And I think that's the true mark of how good of a coach you are once you make those adjustments when you fail.
Coach Collins, Jeremy Pope, Arizona Compass Prep. I asked Coach Brooks this last week, and I just wanted to know, and I kind of just try to get the real stuff. So I asked him basically if you had like a young GA that you kind of looked after when you were an assistant, somebody you really rock with, and he told you like, Coach, I just got an assistant job. Like, what is this deal? And obviously, you prepared him, obviously, but it's like it's his first day on the job, and everybody assumes that you want to get in and make this big splash and add value right away. Like, what are some things that you would tell him in terms of like maximizing his time and to just get his perspective right, being that you can kind of tell he's excited and that he just got his new job?
The first thing is to make sure that whatever issues that we have as our program, that he's trying to do his best to help alleviate any issues that may be going on. You know, like when you're a young coach on the staff, you want to I don't like, and this is no knock on any head coaches to do this, but I hate the head coaches to make the young boy go get the coffee and bring the donuts and shit. I hate that. Like, or make them do, a simple write an email, send an email. I send this email to somebody. Like, I hate busy work like that. But I love it when the young boy is out there trying to, enhance his game by finding different ways to make our team better. A kid that needs a ride somewhere, not coming to me, asking me what needs to be done, just going to get shit done on his own. Any kind of smoke that happens, you want to put that out is right away, any kind of smoke. But if it's actual fire and the house some shit really start burning, then that's when you bring it to the head coach. But once you see the smoke, some stuff I don't really want to know. You know how many things that I've done as an assistant coach that my head coach doesn't know about and still will never know about? Because I don't want my head coach to be worried and stressed about that. You got enough issues as it is to be worried about the whole entire program and helping us win and helping me get better. For me to have to be worrying about him, worrying about one of the players, his tire's flat. You know what I mean? Coach, so-and-so tire flat, what you want me to do? Go help him go to tire then. You know what I'm saying? That's just a small example. But when you're a young fella, man, you just want to do everything that you can to make sure to alleviate the pressure that the head coach has already got going on. And, that could be a number of things, but getting coffee and writing emails is definitely not one of them.
Coach, how you doing? I got a two-part question. I'm Nick Miles, head coach of St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. We had a player in common, Karan DeShields. So I just want to ask, how do you put your recruiting map together? Karan, speaks very highly of you. I coached my last year at AAU. So just wanted to ask, how you put your recruiting map together, and what do you think about high school kids? And lastly, I'm another HBCU alum, and I think it's an advantage being from a historically black college university. I think once the kids get that experience to get on campus, especially kids from areas like mine, inner city areas, I think they'll really enjoy that environment.
Yeah. You muted, Coach. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I didn't hear the last thing I heard about the HBCU experience. I didn't hear the last part of your question.
I said, one, how do you put your recruitment map together? I think like the DMV would be a great area for a school like Tennessee State. And what do you think about high school kids, recruiting high school kids with your junior college background?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Karan DeShields, I didn't actually coach him, but he comes here in the summer times and works out. And I get out there and work out with him and train with him, and we'll go to lunch together. And you know, we got a great relationship. He calls me all the time as if I did coach him, which is really cool, man. See that. But I love Karan DeShields, really good person, really good player. But as far as my recruiting mindset, I wanna be able to have. I tell my staff I want to know everybody within a 250-mile radius. So that's something that I stole from Coach Forbes. We want to know everybody that's within that radius. Doesn't mean that if you have a connection in the DMV or in Florida or in Washington or wherever, any JUCO in the country, nationally, if you got a connection there, then we're gonna go attack it. And definitely, that's the DMV is definitely an area. There's a strong amount of talent that way. And I love high school kids. You know, in this era, I believe that it's not that I believe that you got to be old to win, but I do believe that you have to have balance in your recruiting classes and on your roster. If you have a roster full of freshmen and you're not Kentucky with 5 stars, then you can't have a team full of freshmen. So we definitely want to mix our classes up. We may have a couple freshmen sprinkled in with some JUCO transfers and some transfers. You know, every now and then I want to have guys on our roster that can sit out and we can redshirt because, you know, realistically, you're not going to be able to play 13 guys, and you're definitely not going to be able to make 13 guys happy. So you want to have a couple guys that you can redshirt as well. So transfer market is hard. We hit that hard too, but we just want to make sure we have balanced classes. And I love having guys that you can have in the program for 4 or 5 years.
Coach Brown with Cumberland University. What's up, Penny, man? How you doing?
What's up, Mark? What's up?
One quick question, man. Playing for Coach T at Cumberland, he used to say difference between NAI and Division I is between the ears. And that's something that stuck with me as a player and now as a coach. Just kind of give me some insight on how you attack guys at the NAI level. And I think this applies to guys at any level, whether if it's, you know, NAI guys that think they're Division I, D2 guys that think they're Division I guys that think they're pros. How do you attack guys to get them to develop a certain mindset to reach, you know, their potential or whatever they aspire to be?
You know, that's a good question, Mark. At the NAI level, you want to treat them the same as in the NCAA in terms of you want to give them confidence. So I'm not going to be less harder or harder on a guy at a lower level because he got less talent. So I'm still going to push him to be the best version of himself. But at the same time, we got to be realistic about it. Like, I'm not going to be, when I was at Cumberland, I wasn't really talking to guys about, you got a chance to be an NBA player one day. That wasn't my recruiting pitch. Or, you know, our league has produced NBA players. You know, it's different. You know, in the OVC, we just had the number 2 pick, John Morant. So when you're talking to a guy that has that type of talent, you can mention that. But when you're on at the NAIA level, you're not gonna throw that out there. But the sad part is that now that Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen are doing this Bulls documentary, every NAIA player like, shit, we can do it too. You know, and ain't nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that. I love that. You know, players need to have that confidence. But I do believe that, you know, different levels, you're gonna sell different things. And when you're on the NAIA level, you got to really sell on development, opportunities to win championships, the opportunity to come produce and play. You know, that was the biggest thing that we always talked about with Coach Thompson is that coming to Cumberland and actually playing. You know, like if you're a role player Division I school, you can come here and be all league. You know, those are things that, you know, you got to do. You got to sell that. You got to make guys understand that instead of just being a little piece, you can come here and be a pillar of this program. And overseas scouts don't care. You know, they're going to take a guy at Cumberland University that averaged just 22 points a game. He was an All-American versus a guy at, you know, a mid-major program that averaged 2 points a game. So that's the sales pitch, and you push that and you get those guys confidence, And like I said, like I told Carter earlier, you make them guys believe that they're trying to push to go to the highest level. But you do have to, there is a little bit finer line in NAIA because you don't want guys thinking unrealistically and having the wrong mindset, like they finna go to the league and then just be utterly disappointed. But we go through the same thing at TSU and on this level. It's no real difference. It's just that on the front end, I can sell it a little bit better. NCAA versus NAIA.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. That's my run and gun camp participants right there. Get coaching now. And you know what's crazy though? I just thought about this because his uncles are NBA trainers in our city. So they train Darius Garland and Rob Covington and any NBA guys that come through the city come through him. And like the training game, I'm starting to realize like the dope game now. These guys battling over the players in the city, man. Like be real full-fledged arguing about who's the best at what they do, man. And I just think the young guys coming up and taking shit so seriously, because there wasn't no training when I was hooping. We was at the center and hooping it outside, and if you lost, you weren't playing this game. That was the competition. Now it's who got the best count, who got the best cone drills, and they be ready to fight about this stuff too. Mark know what I'm talking about. So
yes,
it's very rare to find some good trainers, and his people and what they do is elite. They're elite at it.
Oh, look, appreciate you, Penny, man.
Sure.
Anyone else have a question for Coach Penny?
Yeah, Deontay Ferguson, Morehead State. What's going on, Coach?
What up, Tay?
Man, all's well. So you mentioned that, you told your staff you want to know everybody within a 250-mile radius. As you was coming up as an assistant and stuff like that, and even for your staff, how important is it for your staff to know those people as well? And when you were an assistant, was that something that you pushed to know as well also?
Yes. So yeah, when I mentioned that comment, that really was for my staff and for me as well. Like our whole staff, we need to know who the top players are in that radius. We definitely know the people in the city, but we want to know everybody that's going on within this area, because what I would hate to hear is we got a guy right here that's in our wheelhouse that signs with Morehead State and we never heard of him. That don't need to happen. We need to know who he is, and if we can recruit him and have a chance to get him, then we need to do that too as well. And at the same time, for me as an assistant coach coming up, I didn't really have that philosophy until I played for Coach Forbes. Coach under Coach Forbes. He's the one that kind of made me understand that you need to know those guys in that area. You need to know the guys in that 250-mile radius, and that's kind of how we recruited. And it was different from Nashville because we were all the way in the eastern part of Tennessee. So we attacked more of the DMV and all the Carolinas, and we got Nashville too. So we couldn't get Memphis because Memphis was on the opposite end of the state. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a really good philosophy in recruiting because it doesn't have your staff always spread it out. And at any time during the recruiting process, you can, obviously use your relationships wherever you are to get anybody outside of that 250-mile radius.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else got a question for Coach Collins?
I so appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for having me. Man, I was honored to be on this with Dave and Rising Coaches. Dave, appreciate you having me. Quannas and Jareem, man, appreciate y'all for sharing y'all's story as well. Like I said, man, y'all have inspired me and you didn't even know it. And just continue to do what we're doing with the entire coaching culture. And man, whatever I can do to help, man, I want to be a resource for any coaches, young or old, that want to pick my brain, because I'm picking you guys' brains as well. So thanks again.
Absolutely, Coach Penny. Thank you for coming on, and obviously thank you, Russ, for putting me in touch with him. Guys, again, appreciate you being on this week. Another great session. And obviously we'll get going next week. And one of the things that's meant a lot is obviously seeing a lot more as we've gone familiar people on and really seeing people that have obviously spoken in the past coming back on. Coach Penny always said at the beginning, you never know who's watching you. There's there's a bunch of coaches that have spoken in previous weeks that have come back on, so that means a lot to me, and obviously you guys being on here. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Obviously we'll get back going next week. Thank you to Coach Penny, Coach Quannas, and Coach Reem for coming on and sharing with us. So you guys be safe, and we'll see you again next week.
All right, thanks, Coach. Thanks, fellas.